Now.
Good evening, council members, Madam Clerk, Madam BA, Corporation Counsel, directors, chiefs. I want to thank you first and foremost for being here today and taking this seriously. As council president, I called an emergency meeting because I think that it was overdue and very much needed, as the administration and the council should be meeting on what this pandemic is all about and the seriousness of this matter. Just as a note, as we start, I am going to say that every council member I've reached out to personally, and I want to thank the council members that are here and that understand the severity of what is going on. This is an emergency meeting. We drop everything and we come here and we sit down and we talk to one another. We need to put the politics aside, and we need to govern, and we need to stand by each other so we understand and we're able to serve the community that we were elected by. So, Madam Clerk, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Yes, Madam President. Roll call for Municipal Council Emergency Meeting, March 19, 2020 at 3 p.m. Councilman Abdelaziz.
Present.
Councilwoman Khan. Present. Councilman Jackson. Councilman Khalid.
Here.
Councilman McCoy. Here. Councilwoman Mims. Councilman Rivera.
Here.
Councilman Velez.
Just let the record reflect that we offline on YouTube, just in case. My vote is yes.
Madam President.
My vote is yes. Madam Clerk, before you start and you read the statement of compliance in regards to emergency meetings, is there a reason, Ming, why we are not being streamed on YouTube?
I'm streaming it from here, and I see it on my phone. I don't know why.
It's okay, so it probably okay, very well. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, can you please read the statement of compliance covering special meetings?
Yes, Madam President. City of Paterson, notice of emergency meeting on March 19, 2020, as an exception to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Be advised that the Municipal Council of the City of Paterson has scheduled an emergency meeting for Thursday, March 19, 2020 at 3 p.m. to be held in the council chambers, 3rd floor, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey. The normal notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have not been met. It is necessary to call this meeting pursuant to NJSA 10:4-9 because of an emergency situation that has developed. The nature of the urgency and importance is: 1, discussion of the City of Paterson response to the coronavirus COVID-19. 2, public portion. Due to the coronavirus COVID-19, the public will not be allowed to appear in person at the public meeting. The public will be able to view the meeting on the City of Paterson Public Access Channel 77, Optimum 32, Verizon, and the City of Paterson YouTube channel. To comment during the public portion, the public should call 1-408-418-9388. Use access code 714-109-125. Formal action will not be taken. If a meeting of the Municipal Council has been delayed in order to give proper notice under the Open Public Meetings Act, substantial financial damage to the public interest might have resulted if the matter was not considered by the Municipal Council. This meeting was called on Wednesday, March 18, 2020, and on that day, notice of this meeting was given by posting the notice at City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, by filing it with the city clerk, and by sending the notice by email and fax to the Herald News and the Record, the New Jersey Pulse, the Paterson Press, and other newspapers used for public notices as required by NJSA 10-4-9B3. This meeting will be limited to the discussion of and/or action on the above described emergent matters. This was dated on March 18, 2020. Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
So, council members, once again, as I started, we're here today with the administration. I know that all of us have been receiving numerous calls from businesses, from constituents. It's a serious matter. I am hoping that the mayor is here because this meeting was called an emergency. So the mayor, along with the administration, is here to update us on what's going on. I can personally say, and my colleagues that have reached out to me, that some of the information that was put forth in the executive order by the mayor, some of the information has changed and we're not getting it in a timely fashion, at least what we feel. We should be in the room when some of the changes are being made. So this is why this meeting is being held, okay? I understand and I can say that I have been there. So Madam BA, Corporation Counsel, I know you were doing your best along with the Chief of Staff, our Health and Human Services Director, our chiefs. I know everyone is in a room, but the City Council has not been in the room. I've been in the room, but the City Council hasn't been in the room. And although we share information, I think that it was important that we came here today and that we're not getting information through another channel, through a Facebook Live, when there's changes that are really prominent and very serious for our community. So I don't know if we want to move forward with any council member making a statement, or if we just get an update from you where we are right now. We understand that it's a state of emergency, that the governor, on a daily basis, we understand that there's changes being made, that there was an order, an executive order at the state level, and that our city has one too. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you can explain to us so business owners and our community as a whole can understand where we are. So I would probably say that the mayor should be the one to start the conversation.
Thank you, Council President.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hosting this meeting. Thank you for being in our office these very trying past several days. And I want to address everyone in Paterson and say that this is the first American disaster that has affected all 50 states. Mm-hmm. All 50 states are affected by this. 9/11 was difficult. Director Spezia was a sheriff at that point. But 9/11 was encapsulated. That is correct. There is so much uncertainty, creating so much anxiety, because people don't feel like there's an end in sight, and it seems very surreal. That's why people in Paterson need leadership from us now. There's no doubt that because it's unprecedented, we had to take unprecedented action to address this issue. And we obviously have to be of one accord as we deal with our public, because this is more than just a public health crisis, it's an economic crisis. We understand small businesses are going to suffer. And I issued that executive order declaring a state of emergency because it would allow us more flexibility with public safety, primarily the fire department, to respond to calls. And we had to close establishments down to protect Patersonians. That is our core priority, protecting Patersonians. That's why we're adamant about telling people that social distancing is the only weapon that we have in this war. There's no vaccine, there's no antiviral treatment at this time, so the only thing we know that has worked is social distancing. And if I could use a few examples, Wuhan, China, where this emanated from, they practice social distancing. They essentially shut down. And as a result, I think there's only one new case in the last few days. South Korea, on the other hand, was testing their residents, and they're down to one case as well. If we can do both, that would help us turn this around sooner rather than later. But this crisis has affected everyone in the world. And when the World Health Organization issued their statement declaring that this is a pandemic, they also urged aggressive action. And that's exactly what we're doing. My office has been working around the clock on how to deal with the public, what to include in the executive order, and how to assure people in a time like this when we have never experienced a crisis of this nature, to try to let people know that there are two things we're here to do: help and give people hope. I can't tell you when this is going to end, but I can tell you what we're doing every day and making the decisions that are very difficult but need to be made. Necessary decisions, again, to protect Patersonians. This is a rapidly evolving situation. Things change by the minute, and that's why we have to be alert and make the timely decisions, again, to protect Patersonians. That is our priority. Thank you.
Council President.
Councilwoman Cotton, then
Yeah.
Councilman Velez.
Thank you, Council President. I think to say to the mayor, I think people are wondering how long this is going to last, especially for businesses, even for people that are probably only going to get one more paycheck, and then the next paycheck is nothing coming in. I know the President of the United States and the governor has put aside some ways for people to receive some funding. But I think that if you know any information about that, you need to share that with the TV, the people are watching, because pretty soon some of our Patersonians are going to be in a desperate mode of not having funds coming in. So you need to share how they're able to get some things and how they're able to go about it.
I'm glad you asked that question, and just to reiterate, we don't know when this is going to end. There's just far too much uncertainty. However, Mike Powell and his economic development team, they're working on obtaining information about resources that will be available to small businesses. I was on the phone with Congressman Bill Pasquale today. The federal government is going to be providing assistance. They're looking at adopting an Economic Security Act to provide relief for those who are hit hard by this crisis. And the governor is obviously supporting us as well with avenues to assist individuals who have been adversely impacted. And I was just on a session with Bloomberg Philanthropies, and they're going to help us point to resources to provide some assistance to those who have been impacted.
Councilwoman Cotton.
And I have received several calls too about, I know the city's shut down, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays, that the office is not open. It's open on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But some of the inspectors are still going out, doing tickets and writing things to me that sometimes, you know, you have to look at the situation that we're in. So I'm not sure. I think the people, the Patersonians need to know how the staffing is. Phones are not being answered. I'm not sure if the city got skeleton crews working to answer some of these calls that people are calling regarding to, I know the garbage is picked up, the street cleaning, I know the recycle was picked up. You know, those are the things you need to let the city knows. How is the schedule for the city itself? What are the hours? Who's working? Who's not working? Because people are calling and they're not sure. Because then now they're starting to call the council person to see what's going on in the city.
So Councilwoman, that's actually, this is why we're here. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not being specific right now, because
Yeah,
I know
but
the
he-
administration, I know the BA is gonna be speaking on some of that, and so is Corporation Counsel in terms of legalities, because I know most of the phone calls that I've received are from the small businesses and specifically liquor store establishments. And I know that that's going to be a heavy-duty conversation, and this is why we have our public safety director here, our chief of police, our deputy chief, and our corporation counsel that's going to be able to speak upon the legalities of what is being done. Okay?
But if you want specifics, I mean, last week I issued the executive order curtailing the hours here at City Hall. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're open to the public. But the whole point is to keep ourselves away from each other. The isolation has to happen. So that's why we declared this city hall to be a place where if it's only absolutely necessary that you have to come, then come. If you could pay your bills online, you pay your sewer bill, your tax bill, then by all means, do so. That's what you do. So those are the specifics. Now, as far as the executive order I issued this week, barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, anything deemed non-essential. And today the governor amended his executive order to include barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, tattoo parlors. So he followed suit. We were ahead of it because, quite frankly, everyone, it's not fair to compare Paterson to other municipalities. We are such a compact city. In fact, we are the second most densely populated city in the country of any municipality with over 100,000 people. New York City is the most densely populated. So what might work in a neighboring town is not going to necessarily be effective in Paterson. So as a compact city, we have to take certain measures to protect the people we serve. And so that's why if people want to accuse me of overreacting, I'd rather be accused of overreacting than not acting at all. This is how we'll be remembered.
So Mayor, on that note, you overreacting, or saying that you put your order even before the governor's on Monday. Councilman Palik and I were here when you made that order, that you took that executive order. Can you tell us, okay, legality-wise, okay, we hear that the state supersedes the city.
Council President, if I may. So normally, under normal conditions, whenever the state issues an order, the city has the authority to be more restrictive than the state and not to relax the rules. That's usually our authority. The governors, before we issued the mayor's state of emergency on Monday, before that was issued, we had consultation with the office of the governor, and we thought we understood what was going to be in the governor's order. As a matter of fact, we actually had bullet points as to what was in the order, and when I crafted the order, because I wrote it, we wrote it based upon that guidance. And when the order came out that afternoon, it had changed. So I will, and not I, because again, I drafted it. I will readily admit that the governor's order has less restriction than we have. The governor's order was issued under the Disaster Act, so there are some things in our order that we are talking about with the governor's office, that we are still figuring out with the governor's office whether or not the governor will allow us to keep those provisions in, or if those provisions need to come out. And let's use the barbershop provision as the first provision. The governor's initial order said that barbershops and such could stay open. Our order said that they could not. After consultation with the governor and with several other municipalities around, if you think of social distancing, and I do want to note for the record that if you look at the table in front of you, we are not social distanced. And the reason why we're not social distanced, and it doesn't bother either of the four of us to sit together, is because we've sat together for the past 12 days closer than this trying to figure this out. Nonetheless, the barbershops were not there. The governor's office called us. They did some thinking, we did some talking, and obviously social distancing can't happen in a nail salon. If you're doing my nails, we can't be 6 feet apart. I don't know who's got stretchy arms, but that's just not gonna work. Same goes for barbershops and hair salons. And I know that there's a question currently about liquor stores. The same conversation we were having with the governor's office regarding barbershops, hair salons and such, that same conversation is happening now. So we have had several conversations with the governor's office regarding our restriction. We have not been told yet to cease and desist that order. And when we are, if that's the case, we will do that. Because again, we're doing it in consultation with the governor's office. We understand that Paterson is a unique city. We also understand that we are not on an island alone. But we also understand is that the city of Paterson is our home. I am a resident of the city and I was born and bred here. And what I will not allow to happen under my watch while I'm sitting in the seat and while this team is together is for our people to be hurt. So The liquor store issue is an issue we're going to have to get back to the council on, because we're still talking about it. We're still trying to figure out what is the best way to manage that in this city that is unique.
Council President.
Okay.
So, one second, because I know Councilman Velez, Councilman Abdulaziz, then Councilman Rivera.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Mayor, in your language, in the beginning of your statement, you stated that our congressional representative, Bill Pascrell, is looking for a plan and to alleviate those that got, and you stated, those that got hit the most. In my case, when I see got hit the most, I think I cannot level who got hit more or who got hit less when a situation comes like this. So we all in the same boat. No matter you have a business or don't have a business, you get affected. Because even I don't have a business, I don't have a barber machine to do my hair or clean my nails or whatever. I don't have that expertise. So to be able to comply with my in-hand, I have to go to these places, right? Because I don't have that luxury expertise. Now, for example, nobody, not a lot of people here, has a washing machine in their home. I know we corrected about the laundromats, but nobody have a washing machine at home. They need to be able to go out and wash their clothes because if they
I'm
keep...
sorry, did you say nobody, or you said, or some people don't have?
No, some people don't have.
Okay.
Yeah, some people don't have all those luxury in their home. For example, I know you guys corrected about the laundromat, and people could go to laundromats and do their things. But when we talk about operation, and people start calling us that Clifton, Garfield, the city around us are still, they don't have a stricter law like us, like you put in place, it makes believe that people are, okay, don't worry, I go to the next town and buy my beer, buy my go take my my haircut or whatever, and then come back to the city. We should think in a plan that, okay, you have an hour operation from 6 to 8 in the city. There should be a plan to say, you know what? It's true. We got a plan to be, we could be outside of the city 6 to 8. I could walk out of my house from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night and walk all the way around the city and have social contact, whatever, talk far or close or whatever. It's up to me how far I want to go, how close I want to go, right? So why not create a plan that from Monday to Friday, out of 5 days in a week, let's choose 3 days to satisfy those customers, those individuals in the city that probably need to go to a salon, limited entrance, or by appointment. No, you can't tell me you can't. If you tell me that I have control of a 20 by 20 spot, 20 by 20 spot, right, storefront.
Councilman, I'm gonna let you finish your statement, but I want, there's something that I need you, and maybe you're not seeing it, or maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying thus far. There is a pandemic. There is a global issue. There is an issue in the city of Paterson, in the state of New Jersey. Our numbers, did you hear today, earlier, about an hour ago, our numbers from yesterday almost, I think, doubled. We're now at how many?
742.
We were 300, and we are now 700
In the state.
In the state. But Councilman, every day we're increasing and increasing our numbers. I don't see how do you stop?
I don't challenge that. I don't challenge that data. And
I just don't want the message to be distorted that we don't want to support the small businesses.
No,
this is why I'm stopping
we are
you, because
supporting.
Council
We are
President. Get a
supporting.
little out of
Council-
hand.
Mayor, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
You could speak.
Yeah.
Right. My thing is that if you're allowed to be on the streets from 6 to 8, and we say we got an epidemic going around, so what is the to being out on the street from 6 to 8? and we're not gonna find nothing open to satisfy what my needs are.
You saw it?
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about liquid stores. I'm talking about other things that people could get advantage of bringing home, taking care of themselves, personal.
So,
Yeah.
may I, please? So we have to focus on what the objective is. Focus is the operative word, right? The objective is to slow the spread. The only method that we know now that can help us slow the spread is social distancing. San Francisco is literally a shelter in place. They shut the city down. I was on the conference with the Oakland mayor, which is neighboring San Francisco, just across the bridge. They shut Oakland down. New York City, our largest city, is talking about a shelter in place as well. So the goal is to slow the spread. So if yesterday we were at 300 some odd, now we're at 742. Paterson had 4 yesterday, now we have 12. We tripled in a day.
In one day.
In one day, we're tripling.
One
So
day.
what we're saying is, the objective is to slow the spread. The strategy is social distancing. And the tactics that we're using are to say we want to minimize interaction with anyone. So if someone is carrying it and may not have the symptoms, there's a strong possibility it could be transmitted. This is a virus that we don't know very much about. It's an invisible enemy. It's not an invincible enemy. We can defeat this enemy, but the only weapon that we have now in this war is social distancing. So that's why we have to take very drastic measures and keep those essential entities open and stop grasping for straws to define what is essential and not essential. Because right now, what's essential is keeping people healthy and keeping people alive.
Councilman Abdulaziz, you said, Councilman Rivera first, then Councilman Abdulaziz, and then Councilman Jackson.
So I just want to start off by saying that I've been a little disappointed in the way that we have collaborated as a council and administration. You got to understand, we have a lot of people that we represent also, and those people reach out to us. So the day of the executive order, we're all confused. I actually reached out to Corporation Counsel and to Madam BA to get some clarification. But the confusion continued even on the next day. And the more you talk to the business owners, the more confused they are, because some are saying that they're being told one thing, and again, my colleagues have probably, experienced that, but that's the past. We're here to try to work together going forward. But I'm just gonna ask a few questions. Why do we have to, I understand, Mayor, that, and I could appreciate that you have the best interests of the people, that's why you're taking these measures, but why do we have to be first in some of these measures? Why can't we follow the state like a lot of other municipalities? And again, you did mention something, how we're different than other municipalities, but I have a few questions, and that's why maybe all of us thinking together could put a better plan together, not just saying, I'm gonna issue an executive order because the law allows me to do it. We're supposed to work here together as a group. So I have a question. So we closed down hardware stores. If someone has an emergency, I know someone mentioned that Home Depot has the designation.
Disaster
Yes.
designation.
Okay, so if the plan is to try to keep people in distance, why have just one place that people could go to where we have maybe 150,000 people in this city? If something breaks down, for example, in someone's home, the only place now they have to go is Home Depot, right? But then you also have other hardware stores here, which you have developers here that have thousands of properties, or hundreds, right? That sometimes purchase from local stores, but they cannot purchase in those local stores because they're closed, right? What's gonna happen now with them maintaining those properties, right? Let me just point a few things out, and then you could address them. Again, you have chiropractor's office, right? What's the difference between a chiropractor and again, I'm not defending, I understand we're following the state. The state just released that they want, barbershops closed, or they're contemplating it.
No, it's done.
No, the
It's
order
done.
is in.
So I'm glad, thank you for the clarification. So the order is in, but then you have other offices that, again, could be questionable. You also have, we have a lot of confusion with the restaurant closing hours. The other day, we told all of our restaurants that they needed to close by a certain time, but then you have McDonald's open until they felt like it. You have the one here in downtown Paterson open until like 9:30. So again, the reason we're here tonight is to hopefully continue, start working together, because I can't say continue, because to this point, and I could responsibly pass this comment, I haven't been included in any discussion about any action taken, regarding this executive order. My opinion haven't been asked at all. So all I'm saying is, let's contemplate about, the hardware stores. Again, we need to educate our people. They need to remain, keep distance. And again, if you go outside right now, there's a lot of businesses open, but people at home have to know better and stay home. The only reason we're here is because we have a responsibility to the people. And I was actually, I'm an essential employee at my job, but if I had an option, I would be home right now. All I'm saying is, to finalize this, Mayor, please, let's follow the state. That way, we don't have to also shoot from the hip and be reactive all the time. And also, you mention often that you're looking to see what reliefs are there for the small business owners. I just don't see how the state, and again, maybe this is a unique situation, but normally if the state issues an order, let's say next week, that certain businesses needs to be closed, and then they decide that they're gonna start helping out some of these businesses, how are you gonna go back to, let's say they decide to do this 2 weeks from now. They change the executive order to close liquor stores, right?
Very likely.
No, but if they do it, Mayor, what I'm saying is, they probably gonna try to provide aid to those liquor stores and to those other businesses like hardware stores and things of businesses of that nature, maybe at the point where they actually issue the order, because that's a mandate by them for them to close. We got to take all those things into account. Again, I cannot speak for this for the state, but we also have to think about, the situation that we have at hand, not just the spread of the pandemic. That is the priority, to think about that. But I think we should follow the state. I think that's my recommendation to you. I'm not going to tell you what plan we should have. I'm not an expert on the field. All I'm saying is we should follow the state like every other municipality. When you have Clifton, I live 2 blocks away from Clifton. When you have Clifton, with all these same businesses that are closed on this side, open on their side, it's an issue.
All right, so
Mayor.
following the state, obviously the state is following us, right? Because we did the barbershops, we did the nail salons, they just did it today, we did it on Monday. But Councilman Rivera, this is about alignment. I'm clearly stating we have a defined objective, right? To slow the spread. The tactic is what we've done, right? We've identified, the strategy is social distancing. The tactic is closing these establishments that have people who congregate. And quite frankly, we were talking about some hardware stores. Home Depot, very expansive, right? It's larger. They have a disaster designation, so they're probably better suited than, let's say, with all due respect, a mom and pop hardware store, to make sure that there is social distancing and that they have an orderly plan as to who goes in and who goes out and how many people are in. So that's why Home Depot has an exception, because of that designation. But what I also want to point out is that this is a fluid situation. We have to make decisions almost every minute, and the governor's office is doing the same. And unfortunately, we don't have real leadership on the federal level, and it took a while for the White House to even acknowledge that this was a pandemic. I think it happened this week, and we knew about this in January. January 2nd is when the World Health Organization essentially said it. But the point now is, we are mobilized. We need every one of you to form a united front with us. This is about the people that we serve and the people that we are elected to protect. So I think our corporation counsel wanted to.
Well,
Council President.
one second, let
Just a
me.
question.
Hold on, can he ask the question?
It's just a question.
Okay,
So either to the mayor or the administration. So just,
Was the same.
it might turn into 2 questions. When was the first day that you did the executive order, your first executive order?
Was last week, so Friday.
How many days more or less?
So it's been a week.
no.
No, it
Your
hasn't been that
executive
long.
order was done on
He
Monday.
just did one.
No. He's talking about the first executive order, which was about the hours of operation here at City
Okay,
Hall.
I
That was
meant-
last week.
Let me clarify
The
that.
new, you're talking about the second
The
executive
second-
order.
the second
It was
executive
Monday.
Monday. Just briefly, how many times have you changed that executive order?
Actually, we haven't changed it at all. I mean, we haven't made,
So-
so what I've made clear is that.
You
and-
haven't
and- and-
changed it on paper,
And I
there's
wouldn't
been
put this,
changes.
I want to
Right,
put
no,
this on the
let's-
record. I want to
let's-
put this on the record. Hold on.
Okay.
what I'm doing, since like we said, there's a rapidly evolving situation, what we're going to do on a week-to-week basis, we're going to make an assessment, and if necessary, we make modifications. But like I said, ultimately, what will drive that? If you keep seeing numbers going up, how are you going to remove any of these non-essential entities from your order? Do you understand what I'm saying? As far as
I was,
slowing the spread and making sure that we protect our people, the social distancing.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I just need some clarification. You might have not signed a new executive order, but we have gotten different directions from the administration. We see it often. I've seen some changes being made at 9-something at night. After some of us, I'm not saying that that's what actually started, but we question the administration about some of the entities that open, like the McDonald's open after 9:30 or 9,
So Councilman, and
I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
So Councilman, to what you're saying, you're right. Not going to take anything what you said and said, no, you are correct. This is why we're here, okay? Because we have not all sat together and had the conversation that we should have had months ago. And I will put it on record months ago when I reached out to the administration to have a discussion of what I saw a trend. Thank God for people in my life that are able to help me see some of the things that probably I wasn't seeing. And I brought it forth to you, Mayor, to the public health officer, and I was being ignored. But we're here now. So I wanted to put it on record right now. We're here now. I'm here to work together. But please understand that when Councilman Rivera says what he says, we have not been sitting at the table. We have not been asked, so what calls are you getting? So this is why I come into your office and I sit down with the BA and I sit down with Corporation Counsel, with the chief. I'm constantly there because I want to be able to share what's going on, but we haven't had this. So this is our first day, so do bear with us. You're going to get some of it. It is what it is, right? We're going to just do it in a respectful manner, okay?
Well, Council President.
Wait, Mayor. I'd like the BA to say something.
I just like that there's a lot of things that I could say. The first thing I would just like to note that we wanted, as our Corporation Counsel, one of her favorite expressions is having freedom in the framework, because this is this idea of a public health crisis. It is going to be changing. We already saw it from our own state. If you look at, on our website, one of the items, when we created a separate page, one of the items that we have both on our own page, our main page, as well as on the COVID-19 page, is a story map that our Chief Data Officer has created and is tracking both cases in New Jersey, cases in Paterson. A lot of our action started a couple weeks ago because we needed to have a plan in place for the city employees, for City Hall, because we knew the very first thing we had to do was take care of our operations, and then because we knew the next step would be other things. If you look at the state of emergency that talks about businesses, it says all non-essential places of business are closed to the public effective March 16th at 6 p.m. This shall include the following. It doesn't say this is the following, or this is the only list that counts, or this list will never be changed. It says this shall include the following. What we're saying is what's non-essential. We have been able to have conversations, and that's part of the change, is saying, yes, that something is essential. Other people think it's non-essential. We have been using the conversations with the governor, conversations with Jersey City, who was actually before us in a lot of their declarations, conversations with Newark, because we have some things make a lot of sense on the state level, some things make a lot of sense on the local level. So this is the freedom in the framework. We haven't changed the order. We might have changed something on the list that is considered non-essential. And that's going to continue to change. For example, today we had, and it's something I haven't been able to discuss with Corporation Counsel, but U-Haul reached out to us and said, we are a Red Cross supplier. We are one of their registered Red Cross disaster recovery centers that does, and we said, yep, there you go. You can be considered essential because you are going to be part of this disaster program. That happens every day. A couple days ago, I might not have said that. So that's how we have to act. We can't just say, well, let's decide it on a case-by-case basis based on, some things, and let's trickle into it. We had to do what we thought was necessary based on the data we were seeing. Our first case in New Jersey, if you look at this story map, our very first case, our first presumptive positive was on March 4th. From March 4th, 15 days ago, 2 weeks, we went from 1 case to 742. By our first case being reported on March 4th, that really means that it was February 22nd that was likely when everything was starting throughout New Jersey. By that moment in time, if you look at the data and you compare it to every country that's gone through this before, there were already 1,000 cases in New Jersey by the March 4th date that we had that first test positive. We're looking at the data. That's why we acted quickly. We were one of the first cities to shut down city hall services and limit the city hours. Other mayors were saying to us, please don't do that because this is going to affect how we do it, and we don't think we're there yet. We don't have a case. We're not seeing anything. It's a challenge. Everyone is challenged at the same time. Our decision was that it was important, and we knew we would have to start with our employees, and then there was going to be decisions about the schools. There was going to be decisions about businesses, and that's where we are later this week.
And Council President, if I may, everything's happening in the real time, right? Unlike a hurricane where it comes, it hits, there's an aftermath, and we regroup. Like I stated before, we don't know when this is going to end. However, we can identify that there are paths that we can take. We could take the path of Hong Kong, South Korea, right? And they acted responsibly. Or we could take the path of Italy, and you see what's happening every day with their death toll and the amount of people that are getting infected. So what determines our path are the steps that we take. So if we're taking these steps, we choose our path. I know small businesses are adversely affected. That hurts me every day to know that, every day. But we want them to live to see another day. We want them to stay healthy. So again, I can't emphasize it enough. It's about the path. What path do you want to take? And that is determined by the steps that you're making right now.
So Mayor, I'm going to let you speak because I know that you're next. But Mayor, you just said something and it hurts you, right? And it hurts us. And I think we got to come to the middle in terms of services and what we're doing, because twice you've indicated, go online, pay your taxes, go online, pay your sewer, right? And these same people are being affected by not getting a paycheck. So Mayor, we also got to think about, okay, what are we going to do? And push at the federal level and push
we are pushing
to our governor.
I was on the
to
phone
say,
with Congressman Pascal today.
Just like we continue
Senator
to
Booker.
say that Paterson is different, yes, we are different. So we need some relief for our Patersonians, our taxpayers
And nothing,
as well.
there isn't anything that precludes any council person from contacting the congressman or Senator Booker. I've done it. By all means, let's inundate them with phone calls.
Councilman Abdelaziz.
Thank you, Council President. So this is tough, trying times for us, right? Not just City of Paterson, not just nationally, statewide, globally. This is something that I've never thought that I'll ever have to deal with as an elected official and even as an educator. We didn't go to school, getting kids and having thousands of kids at home right now and dealing with something like this. So this is and I'm sure across the board, our police chief and police director, I don't think you've would have thought about this is when fighting crime, this is what you'll be dealing with, fighting a virus. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick and go toe-to-toe with this executive order. I've had my conversations. I think most of the problem with this executive order is execution and enforcement. We could go toe-to-toe and say the governor tweeted on Monday, but we had sound trucks from the city of Paterson saying something different at Tuesday night at 8 o'clock with your voice and translating other things. The governor put his tweet Monday night about a curfew, but we have something going to Paterson Plus on Tuesday afternoon stating something different. But this is a learning curve. And I don't think the residents want us to sit here and argue about what came first and what came not. Corporation counsel, I have had attorneys text me legal jargon about what should be in this executive order. Very similar, Kathleen. This should not include the following. They said we should have added, but not limited to. I've been bombarded with over 160 phone calls since Tuesday, or since this executive order. And it's been a tough time. But one thing I do want to urge this council, because I'm not going to sit here, you have your 5, and I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth. I understand the isolation. I understand we're not out of this yet. I don't care what anyone thinks. This isn't the end-all be-all right now. This thing is going to get worse. Every day when Governor Murphy comes on TV, there's another restriction. It's similar to something happening into New York City with Governor Cuomo. And Pennsylvania just joined on, so now it's not just a tri-state thing. All 4 governors are trying to be universal with their restrictions. So the restrictions are coming, like it or not. And I'll take the perfect example, the barbershops. The mayor put it in his thing, and I got the calls also. I could go across the street on Crooks Ave. Well, today at 8 p.m., statewide, no barbershops, hair salons, nail salons are shut down. And if you're gonna, we gotta think further. One thing I do understand, and I've heard the call, is our residents need relief. And that's why I'm here for today's meeting. I want to put some things on the record right now to the council that we need to act instead of waiting. My first thing I want to put on the record, and if we want to walk out of here and I've addressed it, this council needs to pass a resolution granting a 90-day grace period for all tax payments and sewer payments. That's an action that this council could take immediately. We don't have to wait for, excuse me? Based on a state of emergency and a financial crisis and business are being shut down. There is a state of emergency. The mayor counted on the executive order. Actually, you're right, it's not a state of emergency. President Donald Trump has stated it's a national emergency. So it is a national emergency. President Trump has stated that. We need to act. The PRC has millions of dollars sitting in there. We need to have small businesses come into the city, set up times for them to start applying for this money. We can't wait for the federal government. With the national emergency, the city is allowed for reimbursement. For reimbursement. This is the time, this is what the council and the administration need to do right now. We can nitpick on line items and what's open, what's not open. What I do know, people are struggling. Businesses are struggling. So Mayor, I'm urging the council, there should be a grace period for tax payments. We've done it before. If there's any time that grace period should be put in place right now, is this time right now. Because there's going to be worse things coming down. There's going to be more restrictions.
One
When he
sec-
finishes, when he finishes.
So that's one of my first things. Second, we stated we want to wait for the federal government to come in and maybe there's some incentives for these businesses. We got to urge for this, for money coming through from the federal government. There is a $1 trillion stimulus package that the federal government is waiting on. But once again, when I receive my calls, it's about how I'm going to pay my rent, how I'm going to pay my mortgage bill. I can't go to work now because of these restrictions, right? So we need to be there for them. I'm urging this body, even if we have to bond for monies, for short-term bonds, that we will make accessible to for small businesses. I think this is a time for us to take action, because that's what I'm here for. Let's take action. We got our economic development director here. This is a time to think outside the box. We need to make money readily available for our small businesses, because you know what, Mayor? You have something, you have to be worried about the well-being and health of this entire city. That's why you want to put this executive order through. I understand. We're a dense city, and isolation and social distancing is what's needed. We've seen that across the globe. But this council needs to act. I've given 2 recommendations. One of them, passing a resolution, and we've passed grace periods before. Let's not make it look like this is something different. We've passed grace periods before. And also, to our economic development director, if we need to bond for money, for short term and then go to the federal government for reimbursement, just like FEMA, because it is a national emergency right now. And let's be smart. We know that Washington is going to send money down to the states.
Yeah.
The mayor said it perfectly.
We still waiting
This
for
is affected all 50 states.
still waiting.
I've never seen bipartisan support in this administration than it is now. So we need to act for our residents, and I hope we could pass that resolution
So-
granting that, put it on the floor.
You know,
Okay,
Council President.
So one second. I know everyone, and I know that the next person that's supposed to speak is Jackson, but I did want, I believe Corporation Counsel, you wanted to say, or was it the BA? I'm sorry.
The first issue of the 90-day grace period, because I do know that this is something that other municipalities not only have they done in the past like us, but they are doing currently. Here's our challenge. Because of our fiscal year, calendar year, we're coming to the end of our year. Other municipalities are at the start of their year, so they're able to figure out how they're going to make ends meet by the end of that year. One of the ways we do it is having a tax lien sale. We need to have the dates that we have right now in order to be able to have a tax lien sale, which nets us about $7 million in our budget as is. If we can't get that funds, if we can't get those funds, we would have to raise taxes, to kind of do an immediate raising of taxes. It would be something that we would have to immediately do as in the start of the summer. So that's not necessarily the best answer. I will tell you, though, that I have had a conversation with our monitors, from DCA. We talked through this very idea, saying, is there any way we can do something? Is there, our tax last day was Monday. Our sewer last day is April 1st. And we literally have the tax lien sale backed up as far as we can to still be able to get it in this fiscal year, to absorb it in this fiscal year.
So we're planning a tax lien sale.
Yes, every year we have a sewer and tax lien sale.
Well, I'm not getting
Every
that.
year.
With this
And
fight,
this
with
is-
this
well, let me-
catastrophe,
so
we're
let
not
me-
looking for helmet.
So let me tell you, the one thing that I did say immediately to our monitors is saying, is there any possible way that the state could then, instead of have the tax lien sale, so that we're not counting on the tax lien sale, that we could get additional TA to fill the gap so that we would be able to do a grace period? As of right now, that they are asking, they haven't gotten back to us with any direction, but that is the reason why we can't make the change like other municipalities can make.
Council President.
But it's fluid, just as if everything else is, but fair. And one thing I'd just like to note, because we're talking about kind of real time, this is a really great example. When I stepped out a few minutes ago, we had gotten an email this morning from the county OEM in conversation with the city. A lot of our actions, and the reason we're taking them and being very dramatic, so we have one healthcare system. We have, as a city, have one hospital, and it's connected to, Wayne, and then it has other offices. We have a lot of people who would need to use one hospital. Just today, the conversations have begun about setting up satellites for this hospital, because the projections, as they are for our community, the surrounding communities, and the state of New Jersey, are looking dire. So those conversations have begun. We started to try to think about identifying locations. And that could be anything from maybe some of our city buildings, maybe warehouses, maybe factories, and so on. Just this afternoon, when I stepped out, we got the numbers of what they're looking for. They're looking for about 2,000 beds, a place that can have 2,000 beds.
And Council President.
This is the reason why we're acting very dramatically, because we're trying our best to make sure that we don't get to that point. We might already be there, but we're trying our best to limit, because we have one hospital and a lot of people in the surroundings. So just as if we're talking real time and real-time facts and how that changes so much on a daily basis, that's a really good example. So our fire chief is working on it. We're talking with some of our businesses. We're making the plans in place so that maybe within a week or so, there will be a satellite location for a hospital.
And the need for those satellite locations is only going to increase, because next week, hopefully, there'll be more testing done. William Paterson University, their campus has been selected because it's vast and it's not being used. So you can only anticipate, if they're doing the drive-by testing, you're going to have more cases. And even internally, we're looking to do something in Paterson because of what we anticipate. And much has been made of the phrase flatten the curve, right? So if we're looking at the curve right now, we're only starting to surge. We're not flattening anything right now. So there's going to continue to be that rapid increase before we can flatten the curve, so to speak. So that encapsulates
Mr.
everything.
President.
Councilman Jackson has the floor, and then to go back to you, Councilman Rivera.
Thank
Councilman
you.
Jackson?
Thank you, Council President. So what really concerns me is just the process. Councilman Rivera has talked about it. I mean, this council has really been excluded from the process, not just in this issue, but in countless other issues. And what really concerns me is the liability that it leaves us open to. So first and foremost, because much like Councilman Abdulaziz, my first thought was, well, let's apply some relief to our residents by at least relinquishing them of the responsibility of interest and or penalties. So because the long lines and we've reduced the amount of time in which they could come in and make payments, we've increased the burden on them, so we should be responsible for some of that. So, and the response that I got, because the beautiful part about the American government, as some of us who were on its heels for many, many years, we have to acknowledge the fact that there's certain things that have been put in place that are checks and balances that you really, you have to appreciate. And therefore, it doesn't allow someone to come in and make mistakes and or go rogue, because if we ever have a rogue president or a rogue governor or mayor, there's checks and balances in place. So I want to make sure that we're staying closely tied to the checks and balances. So just being responsible, I called and asked our CFO, listen, what are the options for this? And from the response I got, currently the state law allows and prohibits local governing bodies to set a grace period beyond the 10th day of the month of the quarter, i.e. February 1st. When the tax bill is mailed late, which we did not. When the primary tax levy is set, and this occurs after the mailing date of the quarter, which we did not. So there's certain provisions already set forward which guide us and restrict us to do certain things. And with that being said, Corporation Counsel, a moment ago, you specifically named by name the National Disasters Act. This is the guideline in which the governor is following. So when we have an initiative that's set forward by the administration, where's the guideline that you guys are following? Which guideline is set forward that gives the mayor, that speaks to giving the mayor the authority? And just so we're clear, because I talked to Ms. Fisher earlier, I asked for these documents and I haven't received anything. What are the guidelines? Where has it been printed? Because I can't just take anyone's word for it that Home Depot is designated as a national location for disaster relief. That's news to me, because as many of the other council members have said, we get information and then it's very fluent, changing the next day. I would think that it would be very unlikely that one business specifically will be targeted and designated while other businesses that's providing the same services are being restricted. Because according to the National Disasters Act, which gives the governor, it does not give a mayor the authority, it gives the governor, once the governor has declared a state of emergency, it automatically opens the businesses opportunities to be able to bring forward application through the SBA, whether loans or relief through transition or through aid. So by doing, but what we've determined, as you guys have taken it upon yourselves to have a short fuse, we don't have that outlet for our businesses. So therefore, if in the event, because as our BA has outlined, we're following the numbers. If we look at the statistical data with all the other disease activity that we've had, there's many other viruses that have had much more of a detrimental impact on our communities. But yet and still, we're not reacting in this fashion. So if we're acting prematurely, is that going to leave the city, one, open up to a great deal of liability? Two, is it creating a detriment to our local and small business community that we are not willing to take accountability for? How is the city going to take accountability and or provide relief? Because Councilman Abdelaziz earlier talked about the PRC. Well, I got news for you. The PRC has no money left. No money left. They have no money left. I've been asking for, they have no money left. Did you see the bank statements?
Okay, can we
May I-
come back, please?
No, Council President, listen. I don't understand as I have. Let me just put it on the record as such. I continuously talk about certain things and how we've been placing ourselves at a detriment. I talked about the fact that this council had to be responsible and act as a board of health. That the health officer is the only acting agent within the city that has the authority to oversee these processes. He does not answer to the mayor when it comes to this. This is the first time we've seen the health officer here today. We should be meeting with various partners that have critical information that's being supplied to our community. Where we have one entity that can provide medical services, they're not here with us today. So, for me, it's very disappointing because I think this is just an exercise, so to speak, to pamper the council, to say, well, these are the things that we're doing. We're not collaboratively working, but yet when we put ourselves at a detriment, it's the council that bears the burden. We're very presumptive on our actions and saying, well, this is what's going to happen. We can't predict that. And furthermore, there's municipalities out there much larger, Jersey City, Newark, they're not taking the same actions because they're following through from the guidelines of the governor's office and the CDCs. If that's not the fact, then how are we the first to do certain things? How Paterson is leading the charge. The last point that I'll make, when we're talking about rendering services to the community, I'm still waiting to hear, what is going to be, how are we prepared? Because setting up social distancing is not an answer to a cure to a virus. And in fact, there's no guarantees that this is going to be effective. When we talked a few weeks ago, I asked the director of health, Health and Human Services, in regard to the strike team that we talked about. So of these impacted individuals, the 700 or so individuals, I haven't heard one report on how they're being treated. What facilities are they being housed in? Are they being are they just taking over-the-counter cough medication? The community's going to want to know, what is the plan when we have a large number of people that are impacted? How are we servicing them medically? What is the hospital in our community doing to ensure that we don't have a continual spread? Are we just going to tell people to stay away from the infected? Some of these infected may be in our own households. So, although we're sitting here entertaining, some possible good ideas, first and foremost, before I give up the microphone, I really need to see Corporation Counsel, what authority. I want to see the laws. If you can send them to me, please, because I've read through here. I haven't seen anything. I want to know what authority are there that give the administration the ability to do what it's doing. The governor has the ability to call a state of emergency, and yet he has not he has not issued a state of emergency.
Yes, he has.
No.
Councilman Jackson.
No, he did not.
The governor,
Yes, he has.
One second.
Council President, may I answer, please?
yes,
Because
Corporation
there are
Counsel,
several
but
points that we need to address.
Councilman Jackson, the governor did call a state of emergency.
It's not a state of emergency that he declared.
He
because
declared- okay,
it was classified as something different. If he would have declared a state of emergency, then we would not be having this discussion. Because at that point, there would be relief opportunities that's presented to the business population, but it has not.
No.
Council President, he issued that
Mayor,
state of
please,
emergency so that,
I'd like Corporation Counsel to respond. There's a lot that was being
because
said.
there's a great deal of bureaucracy. So in order to get through that red tape, the governor specifically stated that's why he's issuing a state of emergency.
Yes, Corporation Counsel.
There are several points, Council President, that we need to address. First, it is the mayor's authority under his seat as mayor, and I will get you the statutory authority that allows him to issue an executive order. Regarding a local state of emergency is issued pursuant to NJSA Appendix A:9-30 at sequential. That local state of emergency, and it's actually cited in the proclamation of local state of emergency, it's in the first sentence. It is actually enacted by our Office of Emergency Management. Our interim Office of Emergency Management Director is Fire Chief McDermott. He issues it in conjunction with the mayor under his signature. If you look at the state of emergency that was issued, if you look at the signature, the very first signature is Chief McDermott. He issued this because this is indeed a disaster to our community. Part of the reason why you issue a state of emergency in this way is to unlock dollars, because we know that our community is going to be impacted far more than in terms of health. Our community is going to be impacted in terms of dollars. I am a small business owner in the city of Newark. I own a business that I cannot operate because the city of Newark has enacted the same provisions that we have enacted. The city of Newark has closed all non-essential businesses as of 8 o'clock last night, and that includes law firms of which I own. And I don't mean I work for, I own. But I cannot operate. I cannot go into my business to operate it, but come the first, I gotta figure out how to pay the rent. He is also only allowed to be open grocery stores, pharmacies, people supplying medical supplies, and gas stations. That is what the city of Newark has done. We are not operating in a vacuum, contrary to your belief. We're not. I was on the phone with Corporation Counsel Stewart all night last night, and for most of this morning, to make sure that we are operating in conjunction, because we understand the severity of this. This is not something that's easy for any of us to do. And I know that it is difficult for the council. I get it. All of you have to field phone calls. All of you have to take the brunt of what happens. But be clear, we're not doing this just to do it. And I understand that there are a lot of comparisons to this being like the flu, or the flu kills more people. However, this is not the flu. The impact that this could have on people's lives far surpasses the flu. And I will be very frank and very clear with the council. I take umbrage at the fact that we are told that we're dramatic when the four of us are risking our lives and our families' lives every day. Because while there's a skeleton crew here for the rest of the city, and Council President will tell you, we sit here every day around a table this size together to try and work for this city. There is going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking regarding the proclamation of the state of emergency. There's going to be. Lawyers are going to have their opinions. Lawyers don't ever agree on a subject. If you get two lawyers in the same room who agree on a subject, I would be absolutely shocked. We don't agree. And it's okay, because there's law and there's a matter of interpretation. So some folks may not agree with what was written, that's fine. But understand it was written as a fluid document, because things are going to change. Regarding Home Depot and the disaster designation, we spoke with the Office of the Governor because I had a concern as to where the paperwork was. What is it? Where is it? I want to see it. Because Lowe's claims the same disaster designation. Quite frankly, we had the police ready to shut down Lowe's and Home Depot without the designation. Had we not received calls from the Office of the Governor asking us not to shut it down, as they would be preparing a letter for us, they were getting shut down. They will tell you around this table that I have been very, very hardcore about this. If you don't fall into an essential category, you're closed. And Council President can tell you that as well. My words in that office this week have been shut it down. And it's been shut it down because of the very nature of this we don't understand. You're right, Councilman. We don't have a clue of what's going to happen. We don't. We have no idea how this is going to affect any one of us. But what I do know is that people are dying every day from a disease we don't get. And they're not just dying here. And if this was something for us to scoff at, then I would be remiss to not mention the fact that there are cities who are sheltering in place. And Paterson hasn't gotten there, but to be quite frank, the fact that the number from yesterday to today went up by 300, it's scary, because we don't know. On a personal anecdotal note, I live with the firemen. So every day, they have to go to work. Mind you, Chief McDermott is doing an amazing job protecting his men and women. But at the end of the day, we have got to protect the citizens of Paterson, and we have done it legally. We have done it in full consultation with the Office of the Governor. When we disagree, we talk about those disagreements and we work through them. Like I said earlier, we are working through the liquor store issue. And we'll have an answer for the council, hopefully tonight, tomorrow morning. That's our goal. We are not trying not to share. That's not where we are. But we are trying, at this point, to run a city with little to no staff, because our staffs are important to us. We're trying to bear the brunt of a disease that we don't know what it will do to our human bodies. We're trying, and all we're asking for at this juncture is for the council to, number one, give us feedback. We want it. And again, council president will tell you, when council president comes to the room and she begins to give us feedback, we're actually very open, very receptive. There are some ideas that she's given us, and we've said, you know what, makes a lot of sense, let's go with it. We are receptive and we are open. Our phones are always on, and the reason why we asked the council to speak with Della is because we're all getting a lot of phone calls from a lot of places, and we want one central message so the council understands where we are.
So let me just be clear. One, I could care less about any liquor stores. That's not my concern. I don't know where the concern for liquor stores at this moment is coming. Obviously, they are a business that's impacted, but we cannot expect the public to, or demand that they make payments on tax bills, on any bills, essential bills that's required to keep the city running if businesses are not able to function. That's the first thing. And my concern is for some of the other businesses that are providing the same services, that are doing the same exact thing, that are taking the precaution, that have far less employees, that have family-ran businesses that are being much more responsible. When a building supply company is being shut down, that's providing the same possible services of Home Depot, and or now we have, because that's impacting that's impacting development, and which is impacting employment. So these are people that's working outside. So my thing is, you know, as long as it's being done in accordance to the governor's guidelines, according to the National Disasters Act, because if it is being done there, then we should already have on a site placed where these businesses can start while they're home. They don't have to look, they don't have to be home nervous. They could be home looking up where is their next options or opportunities for relief aid. And if we're not providing that parallel with shutting them down, then we're not being responsible. Because we have personnel that's here that's responsible for making those declarations. Where's the personnel that's responsible for making sure that we have the economic development directors here? What has the economic development department done relative to making sure that not only businesses, but homeowners who can't go to work, but are being told they still have to pay their tax bills? To Councilman Abdelaziz's point, we're not providing relief, but we're making demands that I want to make sure that the demands that we're making are outlined by the law. And it's not us in a room determining, oh, well, yeah, that's a good idea. No, there's pre-described outlines that tell us what we should do in certain effects when we have a national disaster. Thank you, Council
Thank you
President.
very much. Councilman Rivera, just.
So to my opening remarks about following the state, the administration just made a comment right now that's very interesting, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. You guys were ready to shut down and that was your comment, that was your statement, it wasn't mine. You were ready to shut down Home Depot and Lowe's. So let me ask you a question. If you don't have any hardware stores in Paterson open at all, including Home Depots and Lowe's, and someone has an emergency, like a water heater breaking or something like this, I'm wondering how we're gonna, fix it. And that's what I mean by following the state. I don't want to let this administration to continue to shoot from the hip. Talking about shooting from the hip, the idea that my councilman brought up is very sensible, and we need sensitivity around this time, these tough times, about maybe providing some relief to the taxpayers. That is a great idea, but we have to sit down and talk about it. We're asking the administration to do the same. I'm not shooting from the hip on this because it's the right thing to do at this time. It is the right thing to do, but we have to analyze it. Example, let's say we entertain the notion of extending the payments for the homeowners. You know what the result is? A lot of homeowners have mortgages. The mortgage companies are collecting their taxes through the escrow. So again, it's something we have to sit down. For example, I could entertain a conversation at this time, not today, but maybe we have a meeting on Tuesday. Maybe 4 of us, not 5, 4 of us could probably start the conversation, then we rotate 4 others or 3 others to discuss what things we could put in place to provide some relief to the residents of Paterson, because it is, we're putting, and again, we're doing this because we're looking after the health comes first of our residents. And we're taking drastic measures. But my recommendation is, I think we'll probably all be better off if we just follow the state. And the best example is the comment made by the administration of, that if it wasn't because of this designation to Lowe's and Home Depot, they will close those too. And my question again to the administration that I want to answer is, if we close every hardware store in the city of Paterson, including Lowe's and Home Depot,
Somebody close.
including Lowe's and Home Depot, how are we gonna, it's just like leaving the gas station open and closing the mechanic shops.
Council President.
Yes,
Council President.
There's a
can I-
strong possibility that everything will be shut down next
let the
week.
state do it.
No. We
Mr.
can't
Mayor,
let the state do it.
do
The
it.
state followed our lead. You talk about
No,
shooting from the hip. Today, they did exactly what we did with the barbershops, hair salons, and nail salons. The point is, you cannot put people in harm's way. Eventually, there will be relief for people that have been adversely impacted by this. But right now, we want to keep people alive and we want to keep them healthy. That's the goal. I keep talking about a path. What path do you want to take? It depends on our steps.
President,
What relief?
there is 365 municipalities.
No, there's 565.
Sorry, 565. It was 566 before.
There was a
I thinking
merger.
I was thinking of days a year. 565 municipalities. A lot of the things that we do are overseen by the state of New Jersey, even when it comes to the finances. All I'm saying is, given that, Mr. Mayor, listen, when your executive order came out, I said, you know what? He's being aggressive. He's taking the health of our residents into account before anything, and that's important. But all I'm saying is, you have demonstrated in the last few days since this executive order came out that a lot of the decisions that we're doing is shooting from the hip. We have asked some of our business owners, and I'm not the only one. Any of our council members could basically attest to this. We have asked questions, and in the executive order, they were supposed to be closed, but then when we asked them, they say, oh, the mayor said we could be open. Again, maybe it's just them. I'm not accusing you, Mr. Mayor, of you telling them that, but the thing is, we're shooting a lot from the hip, and we can't be having this. We can't.
Council President.
What is our goal today? Are we going to just point fingers, or are we going to just come up with a solution, say we have an objective? Because we could do this all night, and we've got work to do. We have a city that's in a state of emergency, and if we just keep saying the same thing all over again,
Okay, so
it's
Mayor,
not going to improve anything.
When I started the meeting, you were not here.
It doesn't matter.
No, what
We
matters
have
is
an
that you didn't hear
ongoing
the beginning of the
emergency, and if we're going to turn this into a council meeting, then it's going to be unproductive. And right now, we have more positive cases. We have people in the streets. We have stores that are open that shouldn't be. Do we understand the gravity of the situation?
I only asked to follow list.
Mayor, Mayor, the
Mayor,
piece
that's
of,
the
one
It's
second,
about
council
focusing
members.
on the goal. The goal. What is the goal?
Mayor, so just so you understand where I'm coming from, the beginning of the meeting, I specifically said we're going to stay in topic, but we have the right, every council member, because this is the first meeting where we're able to sit with the administration and have a discussion. So guess what? There can be a back and forth, and this is needed. At the end of the day, this is needed. Because we have to all be on the same page, and I'm on the same page that it's all about the city of Paterson, and this is a public health issue. Okay, so first and foremost,
No, not an
guess what?
issue. This is a crisis. Don't say it's an
Crisis.
issue.
Mayor, issue,
Do not
crisis,
downplay the gravity
whichever
of the
word you want to
situation.
use, we're
No,
here
no,
for a reason.
you have to use that word.
Mayor, we're here for a reason, okay? And just so you know, I am in agreement with a lot of the things that are going on right now. Okay, in terms of what we're doing. I think that everyone has the right to talk about the enforcement piece of it. We're not all on the same page, Mayor. We're not. And this conversation needed to be had.
You're asking
Council
people to
President.
reacclimate.
Council
It's
President.
not going to be seamless.
Mr. Mayor,
All of our lives have been turned upside down. So how are you expecting people to reacclimate seamlessly? It's not going to happen. We're in an emergency. Solutions, objectives, strategies, that's what we talk about.
Council President.
Council President, can I,
Can I, Council President, I had the floor first.
Council,
1 second. You have been waiting, and Councilman, you're going to speak right after her.
Correct.
Council President, I want to say to Councilman Rivera, and I feel bad because my back is to you because I want to say this to you. In the beginning, when we first got our orders from the state, because I keep hearing you say, follow the state. But in our first orders from the state, if we would have followed everything that the state told us in the very beginning, the only thing in this city that would have been open was supermarkets, pharmacies, gas stations. Am I missing one? That was it. We sat down and we as a team thought about it. We said that that's not enough. What if somebody's house breaks down? What if this happens? What if that happens? So as we begin to look at the list of things that we were asked to shut down, we began to start excluding some of the things that we needed. At that time, laundromats weren't even on the list.
Right.
Neither was mechanics or tire shops. We included that. And then, wait 1 second, and then they followed the trend. When we said no barbershops, no hair salons, no nail salons, we only came up with that because we thought about how is this service rendered? Is this service able to be rendered 6 feet away from the person that they're rendering? Okay, maybe they can wear a mask. Maybe they can wear gloves. These were the things that we took into account as we were sitting at the table trying to figure out what was going to be on the list. In a time like this, you're not going to always get it right the first shot. And it's not fair to say that you're supposed to get it right the first shot. But at least we were thinking about the nature of our citizens and what the constituents would be faced with if we didn't. And even now, I must apologize to Councilman Jackson. He called me today, and I was like, call so-and-so. And he said, wait a minute, you were supposed to, I apologize. Because it's been that type of show around here the last 10 days. We are constantly looking, and we're getting, not only are we looking at our own city, but we're also getting some mandates from the state. And we're trying to infuse them to make sure that it meets the level of service that we give our residents. So in all fairness, I would ask that, and I don't mind hearing anybody's commentary back and forth. I think you deserve that. But at the same token, let's not spend a lot of time on it so that we can get some solutions so that we can work together. This is a time, if this city has ever needed the administration and the council to do something, and that is work together. Because guess what? The numbers are moving day by day.
Rapidly.
Yesterday, it was 100 and something. Today, it was 300 and something cases in New Jersey. Additional. We're over 700 and something cases. So all I'm asking, and again, I probably won't say too much more in this meeting, but I'm asking this council, along with our administration, to work together for the common good of the citizens of Paterson.
Can I go after Councilman
No,
Velez?
Councilman Velez, Councilman Velez.
This is the thing, and I know that every time that administration open a mouth, or, brings some statement, it's gonna bring reaction, because if we go to work all at the defensive, all offensive, it's gonna be a problem. I recall a comment of one of the constituents that put over Facebook. The council meeting who held a council member who held an emergency meeting. Let's leave our egos and our personal plan to or whatever is on the side and try to move forward information that we could bring to the community. Right now, I understand the executive order of the mayor, the proclamation of the mayor. I understand the governor decision, even with the elections. I understand all that. What we have in front of us, what we have to offer our constituents when this TV is out, when YouTube is out, when everybody walks out of this room. Oh, we did a good show out there. We did a good show over here. We explained this. Right now, I have constituents comparing what is the difference between a restaurant and a food truck. What we have to tell them, listen, this is what we're going to put in place because the administration and the governor have put this in place. But right now, we are empty-handed. Our pockets are empty to tell them out there, listen, they taking this initiative, this court order, whatever they want to put a name. But this is going to happen. Meanwhile, you home and you cannot go to work and you cannot go shopping and you cannot do this. The administration is going to put money in your bank to pay for this, for this, for this, for this. The government is going to bring the money in, the resources that the police are wasting, the fire department are wasting, or the DPW are wasting. They're already receiving grants and funds or whatever. This is in place. Mayor, I don't appreciate that you use that microphone to say that at this moment we got more positive cases. That is alarming the city in the wrong direction. In the wrong direction. If you don't have the right data to say right now that we have more positive cases, please do not say that because you're creating hysteria out there. We just spoke that we only have 10 or 15 cases, 8. But I know, Mayor, hold on. Your statement creates more alarming.
No.
Yes.
My statement puts everything in a perspective.
Mayor, understand how I receive it. We're trying to discuss something here to alleviate the taxpayer, to alleviate the emotion that are going through every household right here in the city of Paterson. And you say that this meeting is going to another way as a regular council meeting, a question and answer, when there's life out there right now in Paterson testing positive. You don't have that data. I'm going by the last data that was put in place in our table. That one.
So, Councilman.
So right now, Mayor, this is why I have. This is why I have. And my question is, when the state of emergency was declared, I know that your departments, fire, OEM, police, is doing the data about how many overtime they've been spending, how many hours they doing overtime, etc. No? So you're doing for free? No? Okay.
Yeah, they did.
So that means you're not getting
Councilman.
funding. You're not getting
We're
funding.
losing focus, Council President.
Hold on.
We're losing focus.
No,
We're going to stay in the topic.
No, I
This
know.
is why. This is
Councilman,
why.
I want-
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. If you're getting funding for emergency, in a state of emergency, you should get some funding, right? But probably it's not coming down. What we have to offer right now to individuals that are in financial stress. Right now, somebody mentioned the word, we have to do tax lien sale. A tax lien sale in a minute of emergency is like saying you working and you playing with my foreclosure or you playing with this. What we have to offer them now, what we have to offer in that right now.
Council President.
Let's make believe, we ran out of food in the city of Paterson. What the city is offering to those residents?
Council President, may I?
That's what I see it.
May-
We going back and forth, whose executive order is better than the other. Mr. The Bergen County executive cancel his executive order just to wait till the governor review his executive order again to put it in place this weekend. So
What we have is time, and we cannot lose or get it back, right? So we have to act. We have to act based on the objective, which is to protect the people we serve. So I'm not waiting around for the governor to ask me to cancel my executive order. I'm going to implement my executive order to achieve our objective, which is to protect Patersonians. I think you would agree with that, Councilman. You know that. You know that. So what I'm saying, my point is, the time that we're here, right, answering questions, which is fine, but if we're going to keep rehashing the same conversation, is the time we can spend downstairs strategizing on how we can help our citizens better and give them more hope, which is what they really need.
So one of the things that I'm going to say to you then, when you talk about implement, then enforce. Enforce. Don't tell me one day one thing, okay, and an hour later do something else. If we're going to say we're going to enforce across the board, then let's do that. Let's stand by that.
I give our police department a lot of credit. They have been enforcing. There's no question. Streets are quieter as a result of the enforcement based on our executive order.
Mayor, okay, I'm not going to come here and put, our chief and our public safety director or anyone from our public safety department, because I know they're working very hard and around the clock.
Sergeant
So I'm not, that statement that I made is so you let them do their job. Let them do their job.
They
because
are
when
doing
we
their
get the
jobs.
when we get phone calls from people to say, well, this person did this, but then this other person can do this, that's a problem to me. And I think you're hearing that across the board here.
Council President, I didn't come here for an argument. I came here for alignment. You want to align with us? We laid out the objective. We told you what the strategy is. Are you on board? That's all we need to know now.
Okay.
Council
That's all we
President,
need to know. Because we
Mayor.
can go to midnight.
Mayor, so tell
but
me
we're
right
not going
now.
till
So
midnight.
tell me right now.
That's
So tell me
please.
right now. What plan do we have in place for mental health? Right now, we're going to have a lot of people set at home.
We have
Okay.
hold on.
Okay.
Just
No,
one
no, no,
second.
listen.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to say, because
Yeah.
we talk about all this stuff, right? And I know because I've been sitting at the table that I know in terms of homelessness.
Right.
And what we're doing, okay, with our homeless population, because out there, they don't know. So that's what this meeting is about. We're going to put it forth, and then we want to hear it. We want the people out there to hear that.
But that's not how
It's
the meeting was
just
going.
But Mayor, this is the first time that you have the entire council together with the administration.
This meeting has to be focused. If you want an
Mayor,
answer,
it
you
is
want this.
focused. Mayor,
No, it's
it
not.
is focused.
People
Councilman-
watching know it's not.
Councilman Kalik.
Council President, thank you. I was moved by our Chief of Staff, her speech. Only reason we are here together is because of this emergency meeting. Otherwise, most of the council members have been ignored completely for your executive order to anything this administration is doing. Isn't that fact? Look at the arrogance of our mayor. Come on, see how you speaking to this, addressing this council. You are here to align with us or go other way. That's what basically you're saying.
Basically.
Right or wrong?
You know, I sat in your seat. Whenever there was an
Right,
emergency,
right.
I took it upon myself
You did, and since
to
you
assist
became
my constituents,
since you became a mayor,
irrespective of what's
you completely
happening
changed.
downstairs.
Since you became-
Irrespective of what's
Mayor.
happening downstairs.
Okay, can I speak?
Come on.
Mayor,
I'm not done with
Councilman
it.
Kalik still has the floor.
I'm not done with it.
Okay.
I'm not done yet,
I
Council
know,
President.
Councilman Kalik. Continue.
I concur with Councilman Al Abdulaziz. We need to give some relief to the residents of this city. Director Powell, what does PRC has to offer this small business owner today, as of now, right away?
Just speak into the mic, Director.
There's nothing currently structured at PRC that's designed to mitigate one of the largest global pandemics that's happened in the history of the globe. So I think that it's noteworthy that all hands on deck are. I'm getting my marching orders very clear from the council. How many rocks do we have? What can we turn over? And what can we do to minimize the hurt and the pain and the economic suffering and social challenges that are going to emerge because of this crisis. It is incumbent upon us as an administration to work hand in glove with the council to do exactly that, and you have my commitment to do such.
All right, thank you.
We are already working vigilantly, if I can just continue as well, because I'm going to talk for about an hour and a half probably. We've been talking constantly with the federal government too, and the mayor's been doing a very good job at beating the bushes with all of our representatives to make sure that federal resources can come both through the Small Business Administration, as well as what's going to be coming through the Treasury, the IRS, and ultimately through the stimulus package as well. We are also working hand in glove with the State Economic Development Authority, who's also taking a lead role right now and has a fantastic website that we're directing small businesses to so that they can see what types of incentives are being flushed out, both in terms of resources that they have at the state, but also in terms of what's coming down the pipeline.
Is all this information on the website?
Right.
No.
Okay.
Yes, this information is on the NJEDA's website. You click
No,
right on the...
City of Paterson, City of
Okay.
Paterson.
Yeah, it will be. And then we're also working, like we've reached out with several other folks, not the least of which is New York City, to look at what are some of the survey instruments they've used as a way to make sure that the data that we get from our business community is relevant and future focused in terms of decision making and a whole host of other things, so that when we hit the ground, hopefully with resources at our disposal, we can deploy them in a smart and manageable way.
Okay.
But it's fair. These are good points. And Councilman Abdulaziz was also bringing up the fact that we need, to look and to think creatively as a governing body at other ways that we can find maybe other solutions through bonding and what have you. So I think the point remains is that no stone is being left unturned. We are doing absolutely everything in our power to make sure that I think what we will find is that this is probably the greatest thing since the Great Depression and probably a world war in terms of an impact. But we have to be smart and we have to also be calm and collected in terms of how we do that.
Please inform the council, shoot us
Absolutely.
an email or something
Okay, no,
so
they
we
don't
know.
go yet.
Happy to do it.
Madam Beer.
Oh.
This is one thing I wanted to share, and it's kind of the same point for a while, because I know this is one of the things that came in this morning, and Councilman Jackson would be interested in this as well. Today, New Jersey was added to the Small Business Administration's listing of states, residents from states who are able to apply for their disaster loans. That happened today.
Today.
So, today.
Not a week ago.
No, today, because it takes time based on when the states are declaring their different states of emergency. So now that resource is available. In addition, William Paterson University Small Business Development Center has offered, they are giving us, I have a link where residents in the city, business owners in the city, can sign up for sessions with them that they can have personal attention to help them fill out the application. That is the first thing that we are putting on the website. We are actually going to break out. We have right now a COVID-19 website. If you look at the main page, patersonnewjersey.gov, the top of the page, you see a breaking news alert, and it directs people to say, click here for news on COVID-19. If you click on that, you see a whole bunch of resources. It's everything from the hours that City Hall is open to frequently asked questions posted in English with links to them in Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali. You'll see information on senior shopping hours at 3 local supermarkets. You'll see the information on the school closings and the food distribution sites. And at the bottom, we currently have links to the New Jersey EDA and their assistance for small businesses. But we're going to actually create a whole separate page, a sub-page just for businesses and for business owners. So that we'll have a link on that main page, but we'll really have all the information laid out, because we absolutely agree this is going to be the first thing that's essential for people. Now, we also are hoping that this is what you're seeing in states around the country. They're expanding their unemployment insurance. So one of our first pieces of advice is for people to apply if they've lost their job, to apply to receive unemployment insurance. This is part of what Congress is deciding right now. How are they going to help fund states? Is it going to be, they're going to help support an expansion of unemployment insurance? Is it going to be President Trump's plan of just sending checks to every person and every household? That's still being figured out. But what we know are the couple things that we can do. But it wouldn't hurt for people to sign up for unemployment insurance, because it takes a while on a normal day. It's going to take so much more given this crisis, and until the state is able to ramp up those resources, it's not going to be an immediate area of assistance, but it will certainly be in the long term.
So Madam BA, what are we telling the community right now? What are we telling business owners right now? Who is closing down? Are we enforcing the 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning? What are we telling the community?
Yes. So right now, I would say everybody needs to stay home, essentially. That is our message from a community. That is our message from our administration. People need to absolutely practice social distancing. This was a message that we started actively, well, internally, we've been saying it for a couple weeks, and we've been changing procedures within city government for that. We actively started last week saying that to the broader community. And then we saw over the weekend, a lot of people were not getting that message. People were taking it as an opportunity, oh, the schools are closing, my business is closing, it's more opportunity to recreate. But that's actually the opposite of what we really need to do. And that's not only the impetus for our executive order, that was the impetus for Governor Murphy's as well, because we saw that this was a huge challenge, and then all of a sudden we had St. Patty's Day around the corner. So we needed to take dramatic action. And right now, that is what we would say. In terms of enforcement, it is still a suggested curfew at 8 p.m. by Governor Murphy. Businesses, essential businesses, are exempt from that curfew, and they're allowed to operate their normal business hours. So for some businesses, if that is a 24-hour fast food place, and they have permission for their 24 hours is through their drive-through, that can remain open. Everyone needs to operate their normal business hours that they already had their license for. This is a challenge for our police. We cannot overestimate that, because everyone's going to be different. And there are going to be some people that have one regulation and other people that have others. But we will be operating under this regulation, and the most we can ask is for us to really galvanize the community to say this is a very important issue. We're hoping at the end of this, and we feel justified in saying that the state of New Jersey, the federal government, will get there to make people whole. It's going to be a challenge in the interim, but this is about saving lives. I keep thinking back to that 2,000 extra beds that we're going to have to try to figure out a place to have them, and hopefully we will not need them. Hopefully we've done enough in New Jersey and in Paterson to stop community spread. It was a great action by the school district to close schools and to stop that sort of prevention. But that's also a challenge. Maybe there are students who already might have had it, and now they're home with their grandparents. We understand the risk. That's one of the toughest challenges. I applaud the school district with how they were able to figure out food distribution sites so quickly, to work with our fire department. Our fire department is leading not only the state, but the country in how they're responding to this. Other fire departments are calling them, saying, what are the regulations you have put in place? What are your procedures? How are you doing decontamination of your ambulances? I am so proud of how this community, and especially from the government side, has been able to move quickly and agilely to really combat this horrible, horrible disaster. And it's going to take some time, and there's going to be a lot of pain. But I would implore that we sort of stop thinking about it in the sense of, well, is this person open for this hours, and what about this person, and why are they closed and not? Because there's a much bigger picture here, that the sooner we get to that bigger picture, the more that we're really able to say, okay, now what comes next? We're tackling issues like, how are we going to get homeless people into and out of kind of the community at large during this time of crisis? But how long is that going to be? We don't know. No one knows. How are we going to continue to provide food that, there are things that we have to start thinking about now for 2 weeks from now, that Italy is dealing with now, that Singapore has already dealt with. So that's why we have a to-do list that's probably about this long. And we're just triaging it and saying, okay, the first thing we need to do is this, and now we need to do this, and now it's time to start thinking about this. And there's probably things on the to-do list that we don't even know yet that's going to be thrown onto it. And we understand relief for residents is a huge part of that. And we don't have the perfect answer right now. We're hoping that part of the state government and the federal government will be able to lead on this, because as a city as we are, our biggest challenge is going to be how are we going to get our budget, not necessarily how are we going to be able to provide relief for others. So it's a constantly changing situation, and I implore all of you to speak with us about it, to ask us about it. At any point in time, we'll probably have 6 new things that popped up that we can give you information on. We might not always be able to come together as a group, but we are open to having those conversations and saying, okay, how are you dealing with this issue? Have you guys thought about this? Hopefully it's something that we can give you an answer for and say, yeah, we thought about this, we're still struggling with our plan, this is what it's gonna take, this is how we would have to partner with somebody, but we're doing it.
Council President.
Council President.
I have to excuse myself because I have to get on a phone call with our county contact, which is Anthony DeNova, and he coordinates conference calls with all mayors in the county. So before I leave, just want to state that my door is open. You can speak to any of the directors as far as insight is concerned and give us your input as well. I just want to leave you with this. It's about identifying your objective, which is to slow the spread. It's about identifying your strategy, which is social distancing, and then ultimately implementing your tactics, which is limiting any contact with people and shutting down non-essential businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council President, before the mayor leaves, because I have some grave concerns, you know, Mr. Mayor, I have to say, it's very disappointing in regard to your perspective of, look, this is what we're doing, get on board, or kind of like a take it or leave it perspective.
It's not a take it or leave it. This is what other areas are doing.
Give me a moment. You know, but for the certain things that do fall under your purview, I'm curious of whether or not you have been diligent on making sure these things are happening. For example, we all talk about a social distancing. I see DPW trucks with guys in small cabs still riding within shoulder distance apart. So if there was a national, and this is the point that I was making, if there was a national disaster acted upon in a state of emergency, does that now give our employees the opportunities, those essential workers that are forced to come to work? Because some people you gave the option, which I thought was responsible, but other people, from what I'm getting, they don't have the option. They are mandatory for them to come to work, so how are they being compensated? Are they being compensated time and a half in which the statute says they're supposed to be getting paid? I've been told by the employees, no. So these are the things that I'm curious of whether or not you're being diligent on, because I see it as just another opportunity for to hit the stage first, to do a press conference, but is it being completely responsible? Is there a task force in place that's preventing price gouging? Because now we have residents who don't have, who may be short on their pay scale, but now they're being forced to pay 3 or 4 times the rate. Just today, somebody posted on the social media that you have establishments that are 4 or 5 times the rate of what they normally were. The governor, in his very first statement, talked about the necessity to combat price gouging. So what measures have been put in place? For me, and just on your way out, I would have been comforted more if you would have came in here and said, these are the things that we outlined as an administration. For example, okay, we're telling people just stay away from each other, but what measures do people take if they feel that they've been in contact with the disease? We made not one reference to what outlets should we point them to. Are we making provisions for those 2,000 beds that we know we're going to have to? Do they call the health department? Are we sending them straight to the emergency room? What measures are the emergency room taking in place in order to address some of these issues? These are the conversations that I think the council is definitely privy to, but you've excluded us from that.
No, I didn't. And everyone is privy to it. It can be found on our website, our Facebook page,
listen.
On
so you're telling me
every medium we have, we put it on there.
So we need to go to a website. And then again, someone also asked about certain measures of our website that's not functioning properly. So the council should go check the website.
Council President, I stated saying we have an open door for anyone who has any questions.
Mayor,
when we talk about
and the ladies in front of me
Council President,
are working.
The last point I'll make, and the council can reference it how
around the
it
clock.
sees fit.
Around the clock.
Our homeless population has been ignored the entire time since you've been the mayor.
No, it's not.
Councilman,
No, it's not. Stop it.
Councilman, that right
Council
there,
President.
I have to say, because I've been sitting at.
Council President, see what's happening?
So if we're addressing it now, then what are the entities? My question is, what has the administration done in partnership with the service providers, such as Eva's Village, Straight and Narrow, those who are tasked really to manage these things, who have not been doing so?
So let's have the
past?
director let you know what's been done for the past few days.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Councilman. So we have been working with the various entities, first to make sure that everyone is still receiving their meals. I know Eva's, Kumac, Straight and Narrow. Straight and Narrow is actually working with Orion White, so they have medical service, additional medical services within their buildings to service not only the residents that live at Straight and Narrow, but also to addition to Ryan White constituents or patients from different entities to go and receive additional service if they were to feel sick or any of those things. We are working with the State Department of Human Services and partnering with our local hotels to make sure that we can have services and move a lot of the homeless population out from the middle of the streets and into safe quarters. We're also having those conversations on what it looks like for food and security for those individuals as well.
Can you send us the numbers of which hotels we have people placed at?
So currently, we have not placed anyone in the hotels because we have to wait for final approval from the Department of Human Services. Madam BA is looking for other options to speedy up the process and then possibly get reimbursed. She is looking into some options. We're trying to see if it would work for the city of Paterson, but we are following state guidelines, so it's definitely something new. And again, as Madam BA said, we don't know the extent of time. So we can place someone for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, and it's something that we're working through currently. We're also working with the same Department of Human Services for children whose parents might have presumptive positive cases. Where would these students go to, or these children go to? I'm on my school board hat. Where would these young adults or children go to if they don't have other families? We have been working with with Board of Social Services, so we know that we can get these students food and Medicaid and insurance support. We are working with the Department of Human Services to also find a location, obviously near the area for those students to stay. We're also working with our first responders. If a first responder, thank goodness it has not happened yet, but if someone does come up positive, where does that first responder go if they necessarily can't go home, if they don't have the necessary space to not spread the virus to their children or their family or any vulnerable population they might have within their homes? So we are working with all of these moving parts. The Department of Human Services has a lot going on, but we are working with the county and Corporation Council and BA are seeing how we can move these processes faster. I do not want to name the hotels right now. I can send you that information moving forward and how we're going to handle it, because we have to create guidelines in order to place the homeless, to make sure that they're a homeless population, that they're here, and guidelines to make sure that the city is protected and that we are servicing the people that really need it.
Thank you. Councilman Abdelaziz.
Thank you. No, I go before, Council President.
Okay.
I was before Al. Yes, I was.
Councilman Abdelaziz, Councilman
Yeah,
Cotton.
I was, Al.
Councilman Khan, go ahead. We
Godly.
got to get together. Go ahead.
I know, yeah, but
Go ahead, Councilman Khan. Go, say what you got to say. Go.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Al, Councilman. I just wanted to, I had said in the beginning, when we started this conversation, and this is really serious, because people are dying. And disasters have happened to us, especially to me, my family, with tornadoes and hurricanes, where my family has lost everything down in Texas, down in South Carolina. And my question was, and we have to put a fast forward to this, because a lot of the people that live in the city here are not state workers, they're not city workers. And we have to figure out, a lot of them work for these agencies. They're not getting paid no sick time, they're not getting paid no leave time. And we have to jumpstart something, because if they're not working now and they're not getting a check within the next 2 weeks, what if our landlord court system is going to look like when they cannot pay their rent in April? Because we need to fast start with the congressman of trying to get funds here. I knew with disasters that had happened here with us, especially with Hurricane Sandy, how long it took for
Councilwoman, but
things
can you tell
to
us right
come.
now, we're
Right.
coming together.
No, but I want to say they need to keep that in mind because nobody's saying nothing about to those families out there that are not, they don't have businesses, they live here. They live in apartments. We got so many people here, not just businesses, people who work for agencies, or we got temporary agency all over the city, and they're not being able to go to work. Something's going to come down, that, and we got to put Congressman Pascarell, we got to say, we got to jumpstart sending funding here for those families, because it's going to get ready to hit soon, because people I see are home. They're already, I've been out helping with the school lunches and putting out, but it's going to, 60% of the people in the city are not state workers or city workers. What about those people who don't have a decent job that can get paid, who don't have 100 sick days saved up, who don't have all those extra stuff? So we need the mayor to be in touch with our federal people that, we need our funding to our city like quickly. And there's certain things that we have tried to put in place before, and I want to say to my colleague, we have tried to extend the taxes, and if we could prolong it, make it 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We have tried, for council people who just got here think that we haven't tried to do certain things before, and we have, and the state laws prohibit us from doing certain things. So these elected officials need to know that we have tried many times for different things.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cotton. And Councilman Abdelaziz.
Thank you, Council President. And this is going to be my last comment because since Saturday, I have been practicing social distancing. And this is my second time I've been out of the house, one for a press conference about coronavirus, and this time now here. I think this meeting was put together, and one thing I got out of it, and this is what, from Tuesday night, because I said it to the BA and to the mayor, when this came out, I felt it was poor execution and poor enforcement. And the calls reflected that, and that's my personal opinion going forward. But at the end of the day, this is the mayor's executive order. He has to wear this, right? We could stay here to midnight, and if he doesn't change his mind of repealing it, changing it, or editing it, it's his executive order. And I've told my residents that. I've told the business owners that the person they have to contact is the mayor and any questions that they have from there, right? We could agree to disagree, but it's his executive order. This was not a council function, and I'm glad the public sees it today. We've heard the concerns from the council, and the mayor stated what he had to state, and it's on the record. But one thing that I do want to talk about, and I stated in the beginning, Council President, I do Corporation Council with the permission of the Council President. I hope you could draft a resolution granting a grace period for tax payments and sewer payments. And doesn't mean for no one to pay their taxes. That is to protect the taxpayer. You heard the BA state, because of this crisis as we had, and someone doesn't pay their taxes, guess what happens if there's no grace period? It goes to a lien sale. So imagine so we got to be proactive instead of reactive. So Council President, with your permission, at our next Tuesday meeting, I hope the Corporation Council could draft that resolution. You may disagree with it or not. This is a council function. This is a resolution that I would like to sponsor, and I hope anyone else would like to co-sponsor with me, and let it go for a vote, Council President.
Council
And
President,
number
has to be
two.
moved?
No. This is not on the motion. This is for Tuesday's meeting. Corporation Council, I would like, if you could draft that resolution, and if Council President, if you're allowed on the council meeting, it'll be greatly appreciated, not for me, but many of the residents that need this relief to protect them. If you could pay your taxes, you pay it.
Councilman, I'm not saying that I don't agree or that I do agree. I think that we have our finance chair here and the committee that, there needs to be more discussion on that and how we would move forward.
I think we've had many resolutions move this way. You don't have to give me the answer now. I'm putting it on the record that I would like to sponsor this and have it on the meeting for Tuesday.
Mr. President.
Finance chair, Councilman.
I just want to assure the councilman that, myself and the finance committee are going to look into the matter, and that's all.
Thank you. I hope that we. I hope that we could.
I would like to be co-sponsor of that.
We got a co-sponsor there. Hopefully, the finance committee could steer it on. We've had many resolutions move quick are not through committee, and I think this is the time it does.
Okay,
Secondly,
Councilman Abdulaziz.
Council President,
Okay.
secondly, so that's, I want to come here like a working meeting and walk out with some solutions that we could go back to our residents. The mayor, to Madam BA, the director has stepped out. We have to look for any money available, either if it's PRC in the budget, if there's any bond opportunities to make available to the small businesses and residents, because it's a trickle-down effect, right? When residents can't pay their bills, there's no relief there. We could wait for the federal government. I saw what happened. Well, I wasn't sitting on the council, but many people that went through Hurricane Sandy, that relief wasn't there. Their houses were on foreclosure. They were dealing with all that stuff. I know, and the mayor mentioned, $450,000 in our budget was for snow removal. That's still sitting there. Let's utilize the money. It's currently in the budget right now. We have no snow. Let's hope there's no snow the rest of the month of March. We had a good winter. That money is currently in the budget. So these are things that we need to look for. Solutions. I hope my council colleagues, I'll be able, I cannot meet, right? But let's look. Madam President, I'm going to excuse myself and the Sixth Ward residents. If you don't see me out there, I've been away from events, any events that I will not be going out publicly. I am going to be practicing social distancing, and therefore I'm going to excuse myself from this meeting. Thank you, Council President, for putting it together. Have a great night.
Councilman McCory.
We're all here, and we're all practicing social distancing. We all have a responsibility. I've been sitting here all night, all evening. I haven't said anything. But in order for us to work through this, we have to work through it together. And I don't think it's appropriate for you to excuse yourself. All of us could do the very same thing. Now, we have begun a process of just throwing resolutions on the table. And I think it's a dangerous one. The business administrator and corporation counsel is here, and the administration trying to work through this process. We're a city in distress. We're on transitional aid. We took $27 million just to balance our budget. It's not a responsible thing to throw out there like we're a social service agency that we can rescue all of our businesses and rescue everybody. The Department of Labor has already set up a process to monitor and ensure as much as they can that businesses pay their employees even through this crisis that we're going. I work for the Board of Education in Jersey City. We're doing that with our child care providers and our contractors, making sure that our bills are being paid, our employees are being paid. The federal government has a responsibility in this process to ensure and to assist states and communities like Paterson to make sure folks are being paid. The president is talking about sending funds directly to individuals to ensure that they can hold themselves above board going forward. The taxes due are a complicated issue. All of us here would like to grant a reprieve to taxpayers in paying their taxes, but we have to look at our budget, where we are in that process, and how that process can work effectively. I think we have tasked the administration to look at that and to see whether that is possible, and I think we should give them some time to do that and give us a response. Just forcing a resolution to say waived or the grace period, not as easy as that. It sounds good to the public out there, but in terms of practicality, state law, what's governing us, how our budget works, it's not as easy as that. And I don't want to give the public the impression that that's the luxury or discretion that we can exercise solely. We have an administration and we have a council. We're in a crisis. There are decisions being made. I don't necessarily agree with all of those provisions. I thought the 6 o'clock as opposed to governor's 8 was a little bit aggressive and probably would have been easier for us to keep it that way. I understand now the liquor store owners are trying to classify themselves as an essential business. I'm not too sure that I subscribe to that. I've heard their complaints. I know a lot of folks are going to be hurt by shutting down the businesses, but so are so many others. And the state and the country are going to have to solve this problem with a solution that fits across the board in terms of how economic development or the economy is affected by the loss of income through businesses and employees. So let's be comprehensive. Look at the things that we can do and be proactive. We give the administration some good feedback today, and I hope that they can take that and incorporate it in the process and work with the governor in laying out a process. You've identified it from Connecticut to New York to New Jersey to now Pennsylvania, all working together to provide one plan, one approach, and I think that's what's going to happen to help us to get through what is a health crisis and make sure that our residents are safe across the board. So, thank you, Madam President.
So I want to say something. One moment.
for the
One
opportunity to
moment.
share.
Thank you very much, Councilman McCoy. I want everyone to understand that today's meeting was for us all to be on the same accord. This is the reason why I called this special meeting, this emergency meeting, because I see what the administration is doing, because I've been there, sitting by your side and seeing how everything is going on so rapidly. I wanted our council members that have the right to hear what's going on and have our experts come and tell us this is what we're doing. So I don't want anyone to think here that this meeting today was so we can grandstand and so we're running, we're not running. This is not what this was about. I sincerely say from the bottom of my heart that I understand that this is a crisis and that we need to all be on the same accord. I'm not saying that the mayor was correct in his execution and all that, in some way his disrespect sometimes, but this is not about that right now. This is about the city of Paterson and understanding that we have to come together right now, roll up our sleeves and say, what do you need and how can I help? And this is why I'm here, and I'm sure that each one of us is here because of the same thing.
Correct,
Council
Council
President, can I just
Councilman-
reply back
Councilman
on the
Abdelaziz.
grace period?
Councilman Abdelaziz.
So, we voted on many grace periods before on this council. I've only been on for a year and a half. If I go back 20 years and see how many grace periods that we've given, it'll be probably 10 or 15, easily, if I went back. So,
Were they at the
Councilman,
end
let me
of the year?
finish. Councilman, let me finish. My grace period is here to protect the residents. I'm not here to grandstand. I'm not here to political stuff. I'm running unopposed. I don't need to grandstand before the election. This is the right thing to do. That doesn't mean not pay your taxes. But because you got hit with a financial hardship during this health crisis,
You can't say that
Councilman, I let you finish. Councilman, I let you finish. Councilman, I let you finish. Well, you don't like it when people step up to you and tell you what we're here to protect the residents. I'm here to protect the residents and the taxpayers.
No, you're not.
Councilman,
No, you're not.
doing
You're being
things.
Council members.
Councilman, I let you finish. Once again, the resolution that I would like to bring on the floor, every council person has a right to vote yes or no. This is a democracy. We're here to vote yes or no. I'm here as a council person. I could sponsor resolution ordinances.
Okay,
Councilman,
there's no
if it goes to the
rebuttal.
finance chair, I'm putting it to the finance chair. The finance chair has assured me that he'll look into it, and then the council president. And then it will go to a vote when it comes through there, and every person has a right to vote yes or no. This grace period, this grace period is to protect people that get hurt with the financial crisis and they're not on a tax lien sale, and then they got to go after investors and they go after their homes. That's what I'm here to do. That's the solution that
Thank
I'm
you very much,
recommending.
Councilman Abdelaziz. Thank you, council members. I'm getting inundated with phone calls, and I believe that it's because it's public portion, because it's the normal
Correct.
individuals that do come for the public portion. So I am going to ask that we move to open the public portion. If I can have a motion.
Move it.
Okay, move by Councilman McCoy and second by everybody. Councilwoman
move
Cotton,
this way.
colleague Velez. So we're going to go. So Madam Clerk, if you can put for the record the number that they're calling and the
name.
I believe there's an access code, okay, and how many people do we have on the public portion, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam President. At this time, we have 3 callers for the public portion, if you wish it.
Okay, so the public portion is now open. Please be mindful, council, to the public portion that we will adhere to the 3-minute regulation. Madam Clerk, can you please call the first name on the list?
Yes, Madam President. The first speaker is Mr. Ernest Rucker, and Ryan will carry on there.
He's still on?
Mr. Rucker, are you there?
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. My name is Ernest Rucker Paterson. today's meeting, I was looking for something totally different. What I saw today was a bunch of children arguing at a time of a crisis and pandemic. The mayor, for the first time that I can agree with him in a long time, was talking about being on the same page. I must admit that Councilwoman Cotton was the first one to bring up about the normal individual in the streets.
Not me.
I heard nothing about how we protect those people. What I heard was businesses, businesses, businesses. Now, let's be clear. We must have a healthy business community to survive. But what's going on now is this council is not on the same page with the same message. I've heard a lot of finger pointing. And some of you, especially those who did not know that we're in a state of emergency, I feel very sorry for you. Right now, I'm concerned as a senior citizen that one message is coming out to the community that you and the administration are working together to save lives. Again, I'm very disappointed with how this meeting ended up taking place. Council President, I know you had one idea of how the meeting should have went.
It hangs up after 3 minutes.
Council President, just remind the people that it hangs up after 3 minutes automatically, and also to listen, not through the phone, to just make a question, because they probably feedback. They're trying to see themselves or watch themselves, and meanwhile, they're not listening to.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Yes, Madam President. Next speaker is Ms. Latanya Miller.
Ms. Miller, are you on?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear
Hi,
you. Just speak
my
a little
name is-
louder.
My name is Latanya Miller, and how you doing? Okay. I just wanted to bring up one thing that maybe will be helpful during this crisis. I just was wondering, since businesses like supermarkets that are open, do you guys think it's possible if you're able to make posters that talk about COVID-19? And basically, because being that the businesses are open, lots of people are not on social media. Some people do not have phones or internet service. I was just wondering if there's any way you can make posters and post them inside the businesses that are open, giving them an avenue of where they can reach out to get more information.
That's a very good suggestion, and I think the administration will do that.
I'm sorry about that. I just want to know, and also, is there a temporary hotline that maybe that can be put together that can take the overflow of questions from different nationalities where we can actually just be able to answer things instead of having people rush into hospitals because they have a fever or maybe they just have a slight cold where we can help out?
Very good, Ms. Miller. Just so you know, the administration is working on a number. Ms. Miller, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Okay, very good.
Yes, so that information will be disseminated. I think your suggestion with posters, definitely the administration will be working on. That number will also be there, will be on our website, and then obviously there's the state website as well that you can call into.
Okay, and the only other thing, like, when you guys are giving out the meals with the students or whoever's come picking up the meals, if you can give out a pamphlet, maybe a one-page pamphlet, just so it's information they could bring back home. And the last thing I just wanted to say, as far as the number of cases, I feel like we should not be downplaying the number of cases. I think we should be as honest as possible, because being that this is like a nationwide crisis, it's not just in New Jersey, I feel like we need to know actual numbers. Yes, people are going to be scared, but they need to know what's happening. So if we have to post, you post. But I'm in agreement with you guys. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Yes, Madam President. Next speaker, Ms. Wahida Mohammed.
Ms. Mohammed, are you on? Ms. Mohammed, are you on? Can you hear me? Okay, you can speak.
Lower my volume on my TV.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Now, you can still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can speak.
Okay, 3 things. Please, the business administrator said that we should stay home. The Grandparents Center is expecting a huge food truck on Saturday. Are you saying to us we need to cancel that truck? That's number 1.
No.
Number 2, exactly from the health department, we need to know if I or anyone else got any kind of signals that I had something, what medicine are you recommending that we take? There has to be something outlined that we can do at home, but no one is saying. They're just saying quarantine. But do what when you're quarantining? Please. The last thing I would say, as far as we know, Kumac is closed. So I heard the director say Kumac, but to my understanding, they have closed. Okay? So please tell me whether or not we have to cancel that truck on Saturday and exactly what meds are we to take. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Madam BA?
I'll hang up and listen.
Sure, I will address a couple of those. Number 1, you don't have to cancel that truck. When I say everybody needs to stay home, there are going to be exceptions, but everything will work out better when we have that social distancing and the more we're able to start doing testing. The testing is a little bit out of our hands, so we have to focus on the social distancing part now. So that's the first piece. And in a lot of our communications, and we've been trying to do this on an email, on our internet, on our social media, we have been talking about this, and a lot of the news outlets are doing this as well. The 3 main triggers or points that people should be looking out for are fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Mm-hmm. It's the combination of those factors that are really a good sign of this. Now, it's important to note that at this point in time, the first step is to call a medical provider. So that might mean your doctor's office, it might mean an urgent care office. It's not to show up somewhere without letting them know, and it's not without getting some initial direction. Because one of the most important things is they can also ask you questions about other things that might make you rule out coronavirus, that it really might be another illness that you have. For example, I believe that if you have a runny nose, it's not coronavirus. So it's really important to identify and to have a medical provider have that conversation. The first step might be just to stay at home, keep an eye on it for a couple of days, and they might check in with you each day. It really will depend on your symptoms, the severity of them, and trained medical providers are walking all residents of this state, of this city, through that process. So that's what we would encourage people to do. It's very essential that your first step is not to call an ambulance or to show up at St. Joe's Hospital if there might be a slight fever or a cough. It is really essential to take that first step with talking to medical providers, because St. Joe's Hospital and our EMTs are handling some of the more serious cases. So I think that's very important from the issue of public health and the issue of resources that are being stretched at this time. So please involve the your own medical provider.
So I do want to, Madam BA, add and of course get some additional information from our public health officer. We do want to make sure that everyone does call their medical doctor, but also have into consideration any underlying conditions. So Dr. Paul, if you want to go into a little information of, especially for seniors, if you have any chronic illness or any underlying illnesses and you're feeling sick, please do call 911. Please go to the emergency room. If you're in overall good health, and you have a cough, a fever, or shortness of breath, it does vary a little bit. Please call your doctor, and then they will ask you questions and give you additional guidelines. Currently, there are no vaccination or medicines for specifically the coronavirus. And from my understanding, hospitals, are just making sure that they keep things under control and are taking care of any underlying conditions. Dr. Paul, I don't know if there's anything additional that you would like to add.
I think the question was, if I understand it as was asked, is what you do at home. We're told to quarantine, and what do you do? So the answer to that question is you practice social distancing at home also, and you practice the same public health preventive measures. I know this can be very, very challenging. I know that the conditions that we have here in Paterson sometimes may not permit you to do the type of social distancing that is required, because if you're in a one-bedroom apartment or a two-bedroom apartment and you have one bathroom at home, it may not be very realistic to practice social distancing as prescribed in theory. So we need to be very, very mindful of this. What you will have to do is, based on your conditions at home, you're going to have to do your best. I can't be here and say, well, use a different bathroom, when I know we have apartments here that only have one bathroom for the family.
Dr.
So
Prasad.
what I think we need to do is, if you, my time is up?
No, it's not about just that. The person that we're addressing actually sent me the question, that her question was, she asked in terms of meds. So if seniors are feeling sick, they don't exactly know what meds. That's what the question is.
I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm the health officer. My task is public health. I'm not going to get involved in treatment. We've said it numerous times that there is no specific antiviral treatment for this virus at this time. However, doctors are prescribing different supportive treatment. It is not our job, it is not my role to get into the various supportive therapies and treatments that doctors are prescribing. There is no specific antiviral. I'm just addressing this from a public health standpoint in a very realistic way. If I can't tell you to use 2 separate bathrooms if you only have 1 bathroom in the house. So I'm saying that every time you use your 1 bathroom, make sure it's cleaned. Make sure it's sanitized after use. These are very important information. Okay. So if you have 1 bathroom, please make sure that it's cleaned before the next person come and use it. And we have to adjust. Forget about the theory sometimes. Okay. We have to make adjustments for our situation here. So this is all I want to say at this point in time. I think my time is up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prasad. Hopefully, the last caller, Ms. Mohammed, now I think basically what I heard right now is to make sure that the first step for anyone, but especially our seniors, if you're not feeling well, the first call would be to your own physician. Okay. After that, if it's severe, and after having your conversation with your doctor, if the next step then is contact the hospital and let them know that you will be on your way, or someone will be contacting them, and then you take it from there.
Council President, just to add that, there's some seniors that live in senior complex, and probably Wahido Mohammed is speaking about this. They live in senior complex, and some people have those apartments, they don't have a lot of families around. The administration of those buildings has a list of immediate contact, immediate doctors in the records, because when they come to fill the apartment, they need to tell them what doctor and this and that. Just in case you encounter seniors that are living by themselves in those buildings, contact the administration of that building, and they will supply in the senior housing, and they will supply any advice to the emergency technicians or hospital, whatever.
So I think the other thing that I would add is, Director, is there a number, like if somebody wanted to call the Board of Health, right? The Health and Human Services Department, is there, again, I guess Chief of Staff was saying that you're gonna have a call-in number. Is that gonna be a 24-hour number? No? Okay.
Curfew.
No, it will not be a 24-hour number. We are now trying to work out the numbers the hours, that will be operating. We're looking at possibly having the call center open until 12 midnight. Do not quote me on that right now, because again, we have to staff it, because we don't want to have recordings. We want them to get a live voice. So it looks like we're going to be operating it from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12. Again, we are working on getting the staffing. They will be able to leave a message, so we will get back to them in the morning if the call should come after 12 a.m.
So I probably would say this too, being that you're skeletal in City Hall, and obviously making sure that the Corporation Council union reps, but I would probably say, just like what we're doing in my job, that we're skeletal as well. I go in certain hours. I have a laptop from home, but I was asked, and obviously I said yes to it, is to transfer my calls to my own personal number, and that was just something that was asked. It was not imposed. So I think that if we can see we're skeletal, that maybe some of those individuals that are home, when we talk about working from home, that maybe we can curtail that to be able to get assistance from the employees of the city of Paterson.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things that we're looking at and will incorporate in this plan. I also want to point out that New Jersey has ramped up their hotline. They had just been using, I believe it was under poison control, their hotline, but now they're utilizing the 211 line. Mm-hmm. So any resident of New Jersey can call 211 with these exact questions. I'm not sure if I might have it. This is what I'm feeling. They'll help provide some guidance. They'll also, on any question regarding this. So please feel free to utilize that resource, especially while we're ramping up hours on the local level.
Okay. We have another speaker, Madam Clerk.
I think it's
Mike Patel.
Yes, Mike Patel.
Mike, you're on. Hello? Yes. Okay, good evening, everyone. Actually, I want to say something about this law should be for everyone same. We should follow the state law, not the city law. City do something, state say something. Look it on the Bergen County. Executive Jim Tedesco today rescinded his executive order 2021B because request by the governor. So we should follow the governor law. Here is something going on for the businesses. Some business can open, some business cannot open. Some business with the liquor and the grocery, they can sell liquor. Some only the liquor store, they cannot sell the liquor. Why is that? Because the liquor store, they just take and leave. Another thing, if you want to do like this, then you have to shut down completely entire city, Paterson, including the public transportation. Because public transportation make more.
Can you lower? We're getting feedback. I pretty much. Can you guys hear him? Because I don't understand what he's saying.
Mike,
So
we need you to
yes.
we need you to lower your TV. Lower the volume on your TV.
Can you please lower the volume or the TV, or I don't know if you have us on the speaker. I can't hear you.
Okay, now you can hear me? Now you can hear me, sir? Hello?
Yes, now that's perfect. We can hear you good.
Okay. All right. So my thing is if you want to do like this, then we have to shut down all the exit and everything from the Paterson inbound and outbound. Nobody can enter in the Paterson. Nobody can get out from the Paterson, and that's it. Only you can open the one supermarket, and that's it.
Good.
Okay.
Then you cannot.
Thank you.
Then you can stop the spreading of this COVID-19. You have we pass the law for the different people for the different law. Somebody stop the cash checking. Some people want the cash checking. They need the money. Where they can go? There is one store in the near the main street. It's like a grocery and the liquor store. There is a queue over there.
Sir, what kind of business do you have?
I have, the things we have to follow the state law. The state says, open the businesses till, what time? What is the specific on that? Saloon are closed or whatever is closing, then we can close. Whatever the state says open, we can open. All the liquor store in New Jersey is open except the Paterson.
Yeah, he said he wanted.
Nails, even the towel, all the towels is open except the Paterson. Why is that? Why is that? I'm so sorry to this is I'm looking hearing all the debates and all the some councilman is trying to say the liquor store and there's something other things, but nobody want to hear that things. I'm so sorry about these things. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk. We have a last speaker, Mrs. Ellie Thomas. Mr. Thomas, are you there?
Zelly, are you there?
Hello, Mr. Thomas, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can speak.
Okay, great. This is Doug Thomas, Paterson, New Jersey. The coronavirus is a serious public health crisis. Lessons to learn from China, Italy, and other countries dealing with this pandemic are ones on preparation, cooperation, trust in science, transparency, and communication. And while I'm sure that many people, including elected officials, are communicating with each other to prepare for this outbreak that is occurring, I think there needs to be a better job with communicating to the public but I am glad that the council president took this initiative to call this emergency council meeting so that people in the public are more aware about any plans being put forward, any plans that are going to be developed, and any new issues that are arising in the city of Paterson right now. What I'm concerned about is that we've seen the alarming rate that the virus has been exploding in Italy and other places. And what's going to happen to Paterson, in particularly in the next few weeks, when, say, for example, that maybe City Hall may be shut down and city council meetings can't be held physically in person? How will the council still be able to communicate with the larger public about what's going on? And I think these are questions that hopefully the city councils are asking one another and considering deeply, because it's a huge crisis. One of the things that we're doing, Black Lives Matter, Silk City Socialists, and other groups, we're doing something called mutual aid. And mutual aid is about helping one another and helping community in this deep, deep crisis, this financial crisis and this existential crisis that we're having. And what we're doing is we're trying to connect residents and neighbors with the different resources that they need in times, whether it be medicine, whether it be food, or other materials that they may need in order to survive and live a healthy life. One of the things we're doing is we did this great cooperation today with IHOP downtown Paterson, where they are generously donating some breakfast to some senior buildings. One of the things I really want to ask the city council and the administration, because in order to get through this, we all have to work together, the administration, city council, community groups, is I know that there's different organizations, different restaurants who are giving away free food. And I think it would be a wonderful idea if we can try to centralize all the different organizations and all the different restaurants who are giving away free food so that the residents of Paterson who may be in need of that food can be able to look it up and see, okay, this restaurant is giving away free food at this particular point in time in this ward, and not be able to access that. And I think having a flyer or having that on our website would be so beneficial. The other thing is evictions and foreclosures. And I've been really beating this over the head, not just in the city of Paterson, but the state, but also on the federal level. That we
Okay, so Corporation Counsel, if you can address some of the questions that Mr. Thomas had.
Sure. So regarding evictions and foreclosures, that's not a city function. The city really doesn't have the right to stop evictions or foreclosures because they are governed by state statute. However, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sheriff Burnick just put out a statement saying that he would not have any foreclosure sales. Additionally, any evictions are not going to occur in the county of Passaic. If I'm also not mistaken, the governor also put out a statement today saying that foreclosures and evictions also will not happen in the state of New Jersey.
Very good. Thank you very much. Madam Chief of Staff, I know he had a question about food and establishments giving food for free.
I think that what Mr. Thompson was saying is that he's aware of different places that are providing those type of services. I just want to put it out there that if there are services that are being rendered by different establishments, feel free to give our office a call at 973-321-1600. You can ask for myself or you can ask for Shirley, and we will take that information down so that we can share it with the community. And my name is Della Fisher, and that number again is 973-321-1600.
So I want, I know there isn't any more speakers, but I'd like for the community that called in, the public portion, everyone was given 3 minutes, and the way it was designed is that after the 3 minutes, the call would cut off. So we don't want anyone to think they were cut off purposely. It was once your 3 minutes was up, the call then went to the next one. Okay, so we just wanted to reiterate that. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Move to close.
Second.
Move to close the public portion by Councilwoman Cotton, second by Councilman Velez and Councilman Kalik. Roll call, Madam Clerk, to close the public portion of today's special meeting.
No.
Yes, Madam President. Roll call to close the public portion of the emergency meeting. Councilman Abdelaziz?
Yes.
Councilwoman Khan? Yes. Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Khalid?
Yes.
Councilman McCoy? Yes. Councilman Rivera?
Yes.
Councilman Velez?
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes.
The vote is 8 in favor, 1 absent. Public portion is now closed.
Okay, so once again, we're getting ready to close the meeting, okay? And so I just want to thank the administration, all right? Thank you for being here. Thank you for the council for agreeing to have this meeting, meetings of the great minds, okay? To the public, we understand that we're not going to please everyone in our delivery, but everyone does have a right. And especially as a council, we needed to be heard and be together in the same room. To our constituency, which is really important, to our men and women of the city, our children of Paterson, our seniors, first and foremost, I can say, as a council president, that to me, the number one priority is our public safety. And understanding that this is a global issue, I am going to stand with anyone that will support public safety first. From there, then we will do the other things that are necessary and that we know there's going to be dire need of a lot of assistance, but I know that I will be there. I'm not the administration, but I'm going to be there to support whatever it is that we can do as a body to move forward. To our employees, our city employees, beginning with the administration, you know, you also need to take care of yourselves. I want to make sure that we assure also that our first responders, our police, fire, our DPW workers that are the essential individuals that are day in, day out, that we make sure that we're giving them the tools that they need to be protected as well, because they as well have their families that they have to go home to, and they're in the forefront. To those business owners that we continuously get the calls, I know our finance chair reiterated that we should, you know, stand by what the state is doing and kind of follow that. I understand the measures that the city of Paterson took. I see a working document. I keep getting emails as we speak. You know, I'm looking at my phone because I'm getting text messages. Something new came out. I want to stand right now and just say that some of the texts I received kept saying, you keep talking about the businesses. And I just want everyone out there to know, and I appreciate Councilwoman Cotton's addressing the public. But I know that this is something that for the past week and a half, we've been talking with the director, and one of the things I asked her was, what are we doing about our homeless population? So I know that a week ago we were talking about it. We still don't have an answer in terms of what hotels and if the funding is there. Although you do know the hotels, we just don't know in terms of monies. So, you know, as your council president, once again, I'm going to be here. I'm in the forefront. I'm here with you. Working hand in hand, and I just hope that the council at the end of the day understand that this is a crisis, it's a public health issue, a public safety issue, and that I'm going to stand to protect that first before anything else.
Move to close.
Move to close the public portion by,
No, no,
I mean,
move
sorry,
to close the meeting.
the special meeting by, no, we did not. The special meeting by Councilman Abdelaziz. Do I have a second to close the meeting?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Cotton. You can make your statements as we close.
You wanna
Do you
start
have
this
anything
side?
you wanted to say, to add? Madam BA? Anything else, Corporation Council?
No, we're on a motion.
Okay.
Right now. Let's just take a roll call.
Councilman, I'm speaking.
Well, let's follow the
Move
Robert's
to
Rule of Order.
close the special meeting by Councilman Abdelaziz and second by Councilwoman Cotton. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Madam President. Roll call to close special emergency meeting of March 19, 2020. Councilman Abdelaziz.
6th Ward residents, it's a tough time in our city, our state, our country, globally. Practice social distancing, wash your hands, be very, very careful. As we test more people, you're going to see the number continue rising. Watch out for our seniors, our neighbors. We're a tight-knit community. Let's come together and help each other out. I've seen some businesses in the 6th Ward that are offering, free meals. Taskin Bakeries offering free bread. I can commit to you that we're going to try to work hard, along with my council colleagues and administration, to try to bring relief to our residents. This is something that no one has gone through this. It's changing. This is uncharted territories, on waters that we don't really know how to react to certain things. But I can commit to you that I will look for solutions to try to bring to the table. It may not be popular ones. It may not be business as usual, but you know what, the coronavirus, COVID-19 is not business as usual either. My vote is yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cotton?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want to say to the residents here in the city of Paterson that we must do our best to stay safe, to protect each other, to look out for each other. I spent the whole morning visiting my senior sites. I have 4 of them in my ward, and I'm saying to you that if there's something that you do not understand and you need to get some clarity, just remember that you can always still call me, and I will make sure and direct you to the correct person or part of government that you need to go to. So please, we must do our best to remain safe and not spread this, because I think that we may, in the back of my mind, not think that this is dangerous, but this is dangerous. And it's affecting a lot of us. So please, please, something you do not understand, please feel free to call my office at any time or call me. So we must remain safe out here. Madam Clerk, my vote is yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam BA, Corporation Counsel, please, can you please make sure that we get the information I requested? I applaud the efforts on being diligent, but I also want to acknowledge the fact that this council ultimately lies with the burden and responsibility to make sure whatever actions are made, that we are fiscally responsible, because at the end of the day, whatever ramifications happens is going to come right back to the council. Hence the reasoning behind the council wanting to be inclusive in the discussion. Just as a point of clarity, to your point, Ms. Fisher, I don't feel as this has been an inclusive process. This has been an informative process in which 2 weeks after action has been taken, the council's been invited to a meeting to basically be informed on what was being done. And that's not how things should work. Things should work collectively. If we're talking about being a part of the process, then the council definitely needs to be a part of the process. And that's just for a point of clarity. I think that the public puts a great deal of responsibility on the members in which they elect, and which this body is a part of that makeup. And because we're being held accountable, we want to be held a collective part of the process as well. And for me, you know, I don't necessarily need to be indulged into the nuances and the minute details, but I do want to make sure that we're conforming to a process that's being set forward by the state, by the federal government. I think the our Director of Health and Human Services talked about how yesterday certain things were implemented, but yet we preceded those processes by, I guess, predicting, and that's not how this thing should work. It should work with governor issues in order, and we then look to implement. But needless to say, things, you know, we are where we are. I think that I would like to see some of these answers for the public as far as where do they turn to, what service providers are going to be readily available, and as well as some of the other information that I requested. Lastly, I had yet to receive an answer in regard to our DPW workers. They are the ones who receive the grunt of the most of the time throughout the community. They're being asked, and from what I'm being told, they're being more or less instructed that they have little or no choice. They're not being compensated in relative to time and a half, double time, and so on and so forth. So I would like a report from you, Madam BA, in regard to how are the DPW workers being handled. I saw multiple workers today riding around in small compartments in these cabs. We got 3 or 4 individuals riding in one small cab. And if we're talking about practicing social distancing, that's not allowing those employees to be able to have be afforded that same opportunity. So if you can send a report on how the employees are, you know, what are they being mandated to take part in, I would appreciate that. And Madam Clerk, I was looking for you over there. I apologize. My vote is yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Khalid?
Good night, everyone. My vote is yes.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Just real briefly, clearly, we are in uncharted waters. This is some very serious times. I've been working for a long time, and this is the first time I have seen where, as an employee, I'm being sent home to work remotely without really an opportunity to contribute to the process other than what I could do over the telephone and the internet. So I think all of us have to take this very seriously. I've been sitting here all this time very quietly because I think this is an important job. And the 9 of us, along with the mayor and the administration, are being tasked by the public to, A, look out for public health and public safety as our #1 priority. So whereas I may not have agreed with the mayor in all of the actions that he take, I didn't fully understand the 6 o'clock versus 8 o'clock, but nevertheless, I credit him with taking action with the view towards protecting the interests of the public. We're all being encouraged for the first time I've experienced running out of soap on the job. So people are now washing their hands a lot more frequently, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a way of protecting ourselves. Act in a common sense way. Be aware for charlatans and unscrupulous individuals that will give you false information. We're not medical doctors, and we should not be dispensing medical advice. So if somebody's giving you a free mask to put over your face, they're not a doctor, they're not a medical personnel. You have the Health and Human Service officer who is telling you that putting that over your face is actually endangering your health and more likely will result in you being infected rather than protecting. So be very careful where you take information from. We're not the experts here, but we're a board that is tasked with protecting your interests, and we're going to work towards that in every way. The health officer is telling us that he's not looking to treat you from that standpoint, but I think you've heard some common sense things. If you have a fever, if you have a dry cough, and certainly if you're experiencing shortness of breath, you need to take some action. First, start with your own physician or a clinic if it's available to you, and in any case, the emergency room. And certainly if you're in a dire situation, the fire department and ambulance is telling you, call 911. They will respond. I saw a video today. They may come looking like Martians because they may have different type of apparatus on that is not customary because of the nature of this illness and this virus. Don't be alarmed. They're there to help and to protect. So again, kudos out to all of our employees. We know that they're working different schedules and different lengths. We know DPW, police, and fire are essential. We have to keep our streets clean. Today, the street sweeper did drive by my house, and garbage is still being picked up. And all of the work that DPW is doing, I think we need to give them an applaud for sticking to it and providing those essential services. For those of us that are not essential employees, like myself, stay at home, practice safe practices, wash your hands, sanitize where you can, and make sure you're doing social distancing. This virus is being spread by contamination through droplets, and we understand a little bit of that. We've seen the medical advice. Let's try to practice that and be safe. Paterson, we're a great town, we're a great community. If we stick together, work and support each other, we can get through this crisis. God bless you and be well. My vote is yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Rivera?
To the residents, I echo the sentiments from our council president and most of my colleagues, well, all of my colleagues, that our priority is health and safety of our residents. I've put together my recommendations today. Again, the reason that I, come about the way I do sometimes, I'm very passionate about the city and the function that I'm serving. But at the same time, is not to justify any actions, but I'm just, sometimes it's frustration that we want to help the cause. The mayor, I might have my opinions, but that's what we're all here for. I don't think people elected 10 people with the same mindset. That's what a discussion is all about disagreements. If we all agree, then why have 10 people here or 9? It doesn't make any sense. So to the viewers at home, when you see us disagreeing, all we're trying to do is put our thoughts together. We don't always have to agree, but at the end, we're all going to come out with an outcome that we feel, at least the majority of us feel, that is the best for the residents. Now, regarding my recommendations, and again, I'm not an expert, all I want to tell the administration is that I will support the mayor if he continues to do his executive orders, but the reason we're here is because we need to be informed in order for us to help you execute the executive order. The day the executive order was presented, I received so many calls from business owners, confused. And if you read the newspaper, the media was confused. They didn't know, and I gotta repeat this, the media that wrote the articles didn't know that the next day some of the businesses needed to be closed. So all we ask for is provide us with the information, and then we will help you execute the executive order. Even if it's not the executive order from the state, whatever executive order we have in place, we're gonna help you execute. But we need to understand it. And the only way to understand it is if you share the information with us, not through social media. And you know, the mayor, council president, the mayor said that at the podium previously when someone asked for information. He says, well, you get it, you know, there's social media, and that's what we're here for. If we come out of this meeting, all I ask for from this meeting is this. All I ask is a commitment from the administration that we will be kept abreast of what's going on. That's all I ask for. You don't have to take my recommendations and put it in your executive order. All I ask for is that you provide the same thing I've been asking for the last 2 years. It's just frustration that I have. The last 2 years I've been asking the mayor and the administration, and I don't want to go that route. I've been asking for the same thing. Just have the courtesy to provide us with information. I hate to receive the information from social media. And again, look at the old videos before this pandemic. That's all I've been asking for. Now, for the viewers at home that seem and that read out of articles and social media, it might seem that I'm against the mayor. But if you look at my voting record, I've supported more of his actions than most of my colleagues up here. The difference is there are some council members that don't like, are not questioning things. And that's the bottom line. I'm going to continue to question and work with the administration to make sure that we have the best possible outcome to whatever we decide. Thank you. And be safe out there. Stay at home if you can. Thank you. My vote is yes, sorry.
Councilman Velez?
Thank you, Council, Madam Clerk. It had been a long meeting. As an emergency, it had been a really long meeting. I commend the administration that they pick up even my calls at 10 o'clock at night, Catherine Long. Just to clarify, Director Chin Castillo, just to clarify questions that people bring, Madam Corporate Counsel. It's not what you say, how you say things that probably transpire different. We have concern, and I challenge the administration in different ways, but I don't use social media a lot to challenge the administration. I think we have a good communication, and we can move forward with a lot of things with this conversation. Now, people have to understand that St. Joseph Hospital is a trauma hospital, okay? And I just want to make sure, I know that they cannot pick and choose patients because it's the law, but I just want to let you know that hopefully people from Up County use their hospital, Wayne, and also Chilton Hospital, because they go there on a regular basis, and that will maintain our hospital in the local area a little bit low in attendance. The Councilman McCoy, I know that he expressed about the liquor store, and a lot of people have expressed about the liquor store. It's not that the liquor store is as essential, needed, right? Yeah, essential. What they're looking is for a balance and fairness of operation, because unfortunately some of them have license. Some of them has license that includes grocery, other one don't. So when they see some people taking, they don't understand why is this. But now with the explanation that they've been going around telling them, so they be understanding. But hopefully the mayor will understand also down the road that if this don't get worse, because I just received a message now, if it's true that they gonna close tonight, everything, and tomorrow, and I said, no, that's not the order. That's why one thing is projecting and one thing is now, okay? So it could create a little bit confusion there. Like everybody has spoken about how to take care of yourself, your family, just pray and make sure that God see us with mercy and we could come out of this as soon as possible. And one thing I gotta say is that if we come out of this as soon as possible, this administration had graduated themselves in type of situation like this. And let's pray each other. It's not easy, but we could do it. A la gente que está escuchándonos allá afuera, por favor mantenga, haga las reglas de salud, haga las reglas que se le establece, que la ciudad le pide a usted mantenerse en su casa ya a las 8 de la noche y salir a las 6 de la mañana. Los puertos de gasolina que operan normalmente 24 horas pueden seguir operando. Los negocios que tienen 24 horas operando, que ya están establecidos en sus licencias para operar, pueden seguir operando, pero por favor no rompa la ley. Siga hacia adelante orando que todo salga bien y esperando que nosotros sigamos una regla como está establecida y esperando que salgamos de todo esto.
No.
And I'm sorry, I'm saying in Spanish because a lot of people in Spanish out there are trying to understand what's going on. Pero vamos a orar unos a otros. Si hay teléfono de emergencia, el 211 está disponible, la policía está disponible, los bomberos están disponibles y los teléfonos de los concejales están disponibles. Last but not least, I will advise the mayor the same way that the director of Jerry Special had put a text group to announce what's going on in public safety around. He should have a group message when he decides to change and send a group text message to all of us the same way the director of public safety does. So that's my recommendation. Thank you for not silencing me. I'm going to continue doing what I have to do. God bless you all. My vote is yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And to wrap it up, I do have a few. Every council member here had a moment to vote and put, their recommendations forth. One of the things that I'd like to add, that I spoke to the chief of staff about and the BA, I'm not sure if Corporation Counsel was there, but is that the city tried to have a way, just like when the mayor runs and he does an activity and he has his group of people, that he does a robocall, that we can try to have at the city level a Paterson robocall, that anyone that would like to receive any updates or anything that can get it through a text for the city. So you have to obviously opt in. So I'd like that to be something, because that's a way, just like you have an Amber Alert, you can have something, a Paterson Alert, okay? So that is one thing that I'd like. Right now, I got the floor, Councilman.
Yeah, please.
So that is something that I would like to, that is something that I would like, for us to look into, and the fact that we have, right now, we're in the situation that we're in, that maybe there's some funding or something out there, because I know what he's saying is who's paying for it. So the reality is, I get it. There's a lot of recommendations put forth here, but I think that this is a way, because when you talk about people say, how do I communicate? Not everybody has the internet. Okay, there are people that do have a cell phone. Some people, go to look at, information through the website. Some people look at the access channels. So these are all the mediums that we have to use to be able to put the message out there. So when you talk about the city of Paterson, where do I go to get information? Access channels, texting, websites, and obviously social media, but that's not the way, and this is the reason why we had this meeting today. I, for one, do not want to go searching for my information as a councilwoman at large, through social media. That's not the way that I'd like to work. I want to let our Patersonians know, please, let us exercise patience. Let us be kind to one another. This is a global issue. And this is a serious issue, and I don't want anyone to take it lightly. No one up here on the administration side or anyone in the city of Paterson. Let us respect our authorities. Please, when they're going out there, don't be defiant. You know, we're getting some of that where, you know, people are being told you need to shut down. They go back to the second day, you're open again, the third day. This is not what we should be doing as a city. So it isn't just about the business people, it is about everyone who works, lives, and has any type of affiliation with the city. So I just want to thank everyone, thank the council members once again, and I'll continue to say that. And Councilman Velez wants me to thank, you know, our sergeant who's here, who we want to thank you for actually staying for the meeting. And I know that the reason he's here is through, you know, the chief. They wanted, just in case there were any questions, because I know that a lot of the questions that are being arised, you know, we have 179 liquor licenses in the city. We have a lot of establishments that are being affected, and one of the things is they want us to comply by state law, okay? But we also want you to understand at the end of the day, it is about public safety, public health first. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good night, Paterson. My vote is yes.
Thank you. The vote is 8 in favor, 1 absent. Special emergency meeting, March 19, 2020, is hereby adjourned. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.